Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Newark City Council hearing for the Committee on General Welfare. At this time, I'd like to remind everyone to please silence all devices, and at no point during the hearing may you approach the dais. If you want to testify at today's hearing, please see a sergeant at the back to fill out a testimony slip. Chair, we are ready to begin.
Thank you so much, and good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's hearing. I'm Crystal Hudson, General Welfare Committee Chair, and my pronouns are she, her. Today, we are holding our annual hearing on hunger and food insecurity in New York City. We'll also be hearing 4 pieces of legislation. The first, Intro 790, sponsored by Councilmember Joseph, relates to the city's response to extreme weather circumstances such as Code Blue and would require reporting around warming centers. The second, a pre-considered bill by Councilmember Susan Schwang, would create the role of SNAP anti-fraud officer and fraud awareness campaign at the Department of Social Services. The third is Resolution 21 by Councilmember Aviles. This bill would call on the New York State Legislature to pass and the governor to sign A 03578 and S 00403 to establish a SNAP and cash assistance fraud victims compensation fund. And finally, Councilmember Schulman's pre-considered resolution calls on Congress to pass and the president to sign S 1202/HR 2512, the Hot Foods Act of 2025, to permit supplemental nutrition assistance program benefits to be used to purchase hot foods or hot food products ready for immediate consumption. Moving on to our oversight topic for today, every year the Committee on General Welfare holds a hearing on hunger and food insecurity, recognizing the growing challenges around these issues for too many New Yorkers. We know that poverty and food insecurity intersect deeply. While we live in a city that is so often defined by its wealth, it's unacceptable that thousands of families are struggling to put food on the table. Day after day, New Yorkers are experiencing rising costs of living, wage gaps, and increased barriers to accessing benefits. Working families, seniors, people of color, and immigrants are forced into making impossible choices to make ends meet. In March 2026, the Mayor's Office of Equity and Racial Justice released their inaugural New York City True Cost of Living Measure report. The TCL is a framework that calculates what New York City families need to spend to live comfortably and participate in the economy across 8 categories: housing, food, healthcare, childcare, transportation, taxes, savings, and other necessities. This measure is more precise than the federal poverty line. According to the report, 62% of New Yorkers do not meet the TCL threshold. Families not meeting the TCL threshold vary by borough, with the Bronx having the highest number of families not meeting the threshold. There are racial disparities also. Across the city, 77.6% of Hispanic families, 65.6% of Black families, 63.3% of Asian American and Pacific Islander families, and 43.7% of white families do not meet the TCL threshold. Certain populations are more vulnerable to food insecurity. Across the country, food insecurity rates are highest among single-mother households and households with incomes below the poverty line. Additionally, low-income and food-insecure households often have no choice but to purchase lower nutritional quality foods, such as prepacked foods or meals, because they are less expensive than whole foods and can be prepared quickly. For these households, a strong social safety net is critical. However, we are facing serious and growing threats to the social safety net at the federal level. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, remains to be a lifeline for nearly 1.8 million New Yorkers, including over 500,000 children. Yet this program is under unprecedented pressure from proposed cuts, stricter work requirements, and cost-shifting policies that could force states to absorb billions of dollars of new expenses. This is unsustainable and would put more than 1 million New Yorkers at risk of losing their benefits. Food insecurity is not an isolated problem. It's a symptom of more wide-sweeping inequities. To address it, we must strengthen and expand access to programs like SNAP, not roll that access back. We must invest in food providers and ensure that culturally competent and healthy food is available in every neighborhood. This conversation also warrants addressing the root issue of food insecurity, economic stability. I'd like to acknowledge that we are joined here by Council Members Joseph and Morano. We hope that today's hearing will result in a conversation around solutions to prioritize food justice and ensure that no New Yorker goes hungry. This is a matter of human dignity. I want to conclude by thanking the committee staff for their work on this hearing: Aminta Kilawan, Panina Rosenberg, Justin Campos, Julia Haramis, Faria Rahman, and Elizabeth Childers Garcia. I would also like to thank my staff, Andrew Wright and Elika Ruentan. I will now pass the mic to the other sponsors of bills on today's agenda. Councilmember Joseph, do you have a statement?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Good morning. Intro 790 is a critical step forward, ensuring that New York City is fully prepared to protect our most vulnerable residents during extreme cold weather. Far too often, warming centers serve as a lifeline for older adults, families, and individuals experiencing homelessness. But without consistent data and transparency, we cannot effectively measure whether these resources are reaching the communities that need them the most. By requiring Department of Social Services in collaboration of Office of Emergency Management to produce annual publicly available report, this bill brings much needed accountability and clarity to how our warming centers operate. These reports will go beyond basic information. They will provide insight into locations, hours of operation, staffing levels, accessibility, and usage trends across neighborhoods and age groups. Just as importantly, they will assess whether warming centers are equitably distributed and accessible to vulnerable populations while offering concrete recommendations to close any gaps. As we continue to experience more unpredictable severe weather patterns, this legislation ensures that our city is not only responsive, but proactive. It gives us the tools to make informed decisions, allocate resources more effectively, and ultimately save lives. Every New Yorker deserves a safe, warm place to turn during extreme weather. This bill helps us move closer to that promise. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Joseph. And now the committee counsel, Aminta Kilawan, will administer the oath to the administration.
Now, in accordance with the rules of the council, I will administer the affirmation to the witnesses from the mayoral administration. Will you all please raise your right hand? Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this committee and to respond honestly to council member questions? HRA Administrator Scott French.
I do.
DSS Chief Operations Officer Matt Brune.
I do.
DSS Administrative Nutritionist Diana Salerno.
I do.
DHS Deputy Commissioner of Street Homeless Solutions Cassandra White. And DHS Chief of Shelter Operations Iris Rodriguez.
I do.
Thank you. You may begin when ready.
Good morning. My name is Scott French, and I serve as Administrator of the Human Resources Administration, HRA, within the Department of Social Services, DSS. I would like to thank Chair Hudson and the members of the Committee on General Welfare for convening today's hearing on food insecurity. I am joined today by DSS Chief Operating Officer Matthew Bruni, Department of Homeless Services Chief of Shelter Operations Iris Rodriguez, Deputy Commissioner Street Homeless Solutions Division within DHS Cassandra White, and Administrative Nutritionist in the DSS Health Service Office Diana Salerno. Food security is an integral part of our work at DSS HRA DHS, and we appreciate the opportunity to highlight the important programs, benefits, and collaborations underway to make for a more food secure New York City. I would like to begin by shining a spotlight on critical resources for anyone who is facing food insecurity. Help is available. You can call 311 or visit foodhelp.nyc.gov to find nearby food pantries and community kitchens. Access HRA, our mobile app, and our benefit access centers serve as further resources where clients can apply for benefits. For those clients already receiving SNAP, the City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, DOHMH, food access initiatives serve as additional resources, including Health Bucks, Get the Good Stuff, and Groceries to Go. In addition to the work of DSS HRA DHS, I want to recognize the work of our partners in government, including DOHMH and the Mayor's Office of Food Policy, and our partners in serving New Yorkers, including food banks, community kitchens, community fridges, and mutual aid groups. From our community-based organizations to our houses of worship, an array of sectors and volunteers is engaged in tackling this significant challenge. In addition, advocates and policymakers across government and across our shared communities play critical roles in uplifting food security, raising awareness about where to receive assistance, and tackling the challenges food food insecure households face with dignity and respect. Meeting New Yorkers where they are, providing culturally competent services, and treating applicants and clients with dignity and respect are all touchstones of DSS's outreach strategy to advance food security. The Office of Community Outreach, OCO, conducts targeted outreach campaigns to connect with communities and organizations serving specific populations like older adults, immigrant communities, persons with disabilities, and the LGBTQIA+ community. OCO hosts presentations, attends resource fairs, farmers markets, and other community events to increase SNAP awareness and engagement. OCO also provides SNAP trainings and presentations, pre-screens potentially eligible applicants, and assists with the SNAP application process. New Yorkers can also be connected to a community-based organization to help with SNAP enrollment, as well as other benefits, by calling 311 or visiting the HRA website and using the Find a Partner Organization tool. In addition, DSS participates in monthly SNAP task force meetings chaired by the Food Bank for New York City to provide updates and answer questions from participating CBOs. In 2025, DSS conducted a total of 76 trainings in using these tools to submit SNAP and other benefit applications and provided benefit case management via Access HRA. 1,902 participants attended these trainings. Attendees include staff from other municipal agencies and community partner organizations. These trainings also served as a forum for questions and concerns from providers and advocates working directly with HRA and DHS clients. DSS HRA serves as the administrator of vital programs to combat food insecurity. As of February 2026, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, served 1.7 million New Yorkers. The U.S. Department of Agriculture's SNAP Program Access Index, PAI, serves as one key metric for assessing SNAP's reach in states and municipalities, and one indicator of the work undertaken to connect communities to SNAP. The 2024 PAI data is the most recent available due to the fact that the 2025 census data used in the calculation will not be released until the fall of 2026. The 2024 SNAP PAI for New York City was 95.7%, meaning HRA administered SNAP benefits to more than 1.79 million New Yorkers out of the 1.87 million New Yorkers below 125% of the federal poverty line. Thanks to the hard work of HRA and our community partners, New York City's PAI has historically outpaced those of the state and the U.S. overall. In 2023, the state's PAI was 85.3%, and the nationwide PAI was 80%, compared to the city's PAI of 94.9%. For New York City, the difference between serving 95.7% and 80% of people below 125% of the FPL is more than 250,000 New Yorkers. What do these numbers and percentages mean? That means fewer heads of household facing sleepless nights worrying about the next meal. That means more of our families, friends, and neighbors having the food security they deserve. Those numbers are also a positive reflection of our past efforts to leverage technology, our outreach efforts, and our connections with sister agencies and community partners. HRA remains committed to building on that success in connecting eligible New Yorkers to SNAP. The present-day challenge to SNAP we are tackling is the new federally imposed Able-Bodied Adults Without Dependents, ABOD, rules. The first month of the new ABOD work rules was March 2026. Concisely, these rules expanded the work requirements for SNAP clients and mandated sanctions for non-compliant SNAP participants. Prior to the rules going into effect, we mobilized. We worked to notify SNAP clients about what the rules mean for them and connect with community partners about how they can help. We are keeping a keen eye on what additional measures we can take to ensure people remain connected to this critical benefit. In terms of notifying clients, that has meant direct client communications, including texts, emails, and push notifications. In terms of connecting clients to resources, that has meant connecting clients to HRA's Pathways for Access to Careers and Employment, known as PACE, program, hosting community meetings and webinars so community organizations know that Qualifying community service, volunteer work, work experience, and job skills training programs may be part of meeting a SNAP client's work requirements, and stepping up efforts to ensure that clients who are eligible for exemptions understand what documentation we need to properly register their exemption. Our work managing this federally imposed transition in work requirements is not complete. We will continue to monitor and evaluate the experience of SNAP clients and make the adjustments we can to connect SNAP clients with the information and resources they need to comply with the new rules. The Community Food Connection, CFC, formerly known as the Emergency Food Assistance Program, serves another key tool in our toolbox for combating food insecurity in New York City. CFC funds a network of more than 700 food pantries and community kitchens across the city. Published in January, the Mayor's Office of Food Policy's CFC Fiscal Year 2025 Impact Report goes into far greater detail about CFC's critical accomplishments. I will share the most important highlights. In fiscal year 2025, CFC helped those providers supply more than 47.1 million pounds of food across 170 neighborhoods in our city. That was about 4 million more pounds of food than was supplied in FY24. In FY25, CFC providers recorded 1.9 million more visits than in FY24, with the visit count for FY25 being 37.1 million. Across FY24 and 25, the breakdown of the ages of the people served remained the same, approximately 49% adults, 30% children, and 21% older adults. Our FY27 plans for CFC build on our FY25 and 26 successes. We recognize the critical role CFC and our provider partners play in advancing food security. This is precisely why the administration proposed increasing the baseline of CFC funding to $69.4 million in FY27, further investing in the network of provider partners and our shared capacity to uplift food security in our communities. In addition, DSS recently released a challenge-based procurement inviting qualified vendors to design and implement a scalable, participant-centered solution likely to be voucher-based or credit-based to enhance the city's emergency food assistance system. Through this pilot and augmenting the work of the Community Food Connection funded pantries and community kitchens, DSS seeks to expand food access, increase participant choice, and reduce some operational inefficiencies within the emergency food network. In the initial phase of the pilot, the agency will enroll 400 to 600 households. DSS expects to make a contract award shortly and envisions that the pilot will start in FY27. We want to be sure to meet the challenges of affordability, shocks around energy, and their knock-on consequences, including consequences for inflation estimates. As always, we will continue to closely monitor the situation our providers face and work with the Mayor's Office of Management and Budget. Introduction 790, sponsored by Councilmember Joseph, would require DOHMH and the Office of Emergency Management, OEM, to annually report on warming centers, including an assessment of the geographic availability of warming centers and recommendations on the distribution and utilization of warming centers across the city. We support transparency and data-informed public policy making. Would want to have further conversations with the sponsor and the council about what the agency or team of agencies is best placed to produce the most effective report. The provision of different kinds of warming centers is a function that cuts across multiple agencies and partners. We would want to be sure the legislation takes due consideration of that fact in crafting the reporting requirement. The pre-considered introduction, we understand, is focused on combating SNAP, electronic benefit transfer, card skimming, creating an office within DSS to focus on proactive measures to prevent SNAP EBT skimming, and requiring annual reporting on SNAP EBT skimming in New York City. We wholeheartedly agree that SNAP EBT skimming is a heinous crime, literally stealing food from the most vulnerable in our communities. It is important that SNAP clients know that the New York State Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance advises EBT card holders to take advantage of EBT card freeze, permitting clients to freeze or unfreeze their card to protect their benefits. Cardholders can go visit ebtedge.com to learn more. DSS works with federal, state, and local law enforcement to combat skimming through participation in outreach and joint investigations and partnerships. With respect to outreach and raising awareness, DSS has conducted numerous presentations about skimming risks at community centers and senior centers in collaboration with the district attorney's offices, the Department for the Aging, and the Department of Investigation. With respect to joint investigations and partnerships with law enforcement to combat skimming, DSS makes appropriate referrals to law enforcement and has supported skimming investigations. For instance, DSS supported Operation Flagship, where the U.S. Secret Service, NYPD, U.S. Department of Agriculture, the Kings County District Attorney Office, and DOI seized and removed more than 100 skimming devices. At the direction of the federal government, the authority for restoring skimmed benefits expired on February 21st, 2024, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture directed our state oversight body, OTDA, that states must cease accepting applications for the replacement of stolen benefits. Households are still able to submit applications for the replacement of stolen cash assistance benefits. The federal direction to cease collecting applications to replace stolen SNAP benefits relates to the preconsidered introduction in that HRA does not have the facility to act here. State authorities may have the facility to monitor and act, as they are responsible for issuing replacement EBT cards. This is a transaction that can happen independent of DSS HRA and without DSS HRA facilitating. We are deeply appreciative to see Governor Hochul's New York State budget proposed funding for the long-term solution to these crimes against our clients, putting the chip technology used in debit and credit cards into EBT cards, EMV chips. We strongly urge the state authorities to implement that solution as quickly as practicable. New York State has authority over the cards, and the transition to more secure technology to the use of chips to stop EBT card skimming. We would like further discussion with the Council about this preconsidered introduction and the limits federal and state authorities' mandates have created in this area. Given the various concerns, we do not believe it is feasible to proceed with this legislation at this time. Advancing food security is a critical goal, and as with almost any goal worth achieving, we face significant hurdles. Affordability challenges, current energy shocks reverberating through the economy to our food system, and long-standing challenges like ensuring that our neighbors who may not be as literate with technology or who may speak another language connect with the culturally competent outreach that meets them where they are. We remain committed to overcoming these hurdles, and with the help of our hardworking staff, our outstanding partners across government, and the array of community organizations, institutions, and advocates who are dedicated to making food security for every New Yorker a reality. Thank you, Chair Hudson, members of the Committee on General Welfare, and your colleagues on the Council for your ongoing contributions to this important work. We look forward to continuing to work in partnership with you on this issue. We appreciate the opportunity to testify and welcome your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to also note for the record that we've been joined by Council Members Ong and Zhuang, and I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember Zhuang to deliver remarks about her bill.
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank everyone for coming today, and I'm introducing the bill establish a SNAP fraud officer and the fraud awareness program. As many of you know, SNAP benefits are stolen at alarming rate. Stolen benefits cost families the ability to feed themselves, and the cost of government millions of dollars. According to state report data collected by USDA, in the first quarter of FY 2025, New York State approved more than 25,000 stolen benefit claims out of 33,000 received. New York State determined more than 61,000 fraudulent transactions within those claims. At the rate 25,000 approved claims equals 9.4 million in stolen SNAP benefits in a single fiscal quarter. Many of those who are vulnerable to this theft are seniors and immigrants who struggle to use the internet to find nearby food pantries or use the EBT Age app. I actually had a lot of seniors sitting in my office. We just teach them how to use the app. And those seniors doesn't speak English at all. Very hard for them to use the app. This bill will create a role of SNAP anti-fraud officer within the Department of Social Services. The SNAP anti-fraud officer would be required to identify locations with the highest instances of fraud, determine proactive measure to notify SNAP recipients of fraud, identify procedures to prevent fraud, coordinate with nonprofit and organization on fraud cases, and provide the annual report on SNAP fraud in New York City. The annual report could include details on the area where the highest instance of SNAP fraud cases occurred in the prior year. Responses of DSS took to address SNAP fraud cases and may best practice and procedure DSS identified to respond to SNAP fraud. I urge my colleagues and also administration to support this bill to protect vulnerable New Yorkers in this critical circumstance. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. And before I get into my questions, I do just want to commend you all for the work that you do. It's not easy work. And, we hold these hearings to make sure we can get as much information out to the public as possible. But I think, the numbers that you reported in your opening remarks are significant. And I think it's important to acknowledge the good work that you all are doing. So thank you. I do want to ask, in your opening remarks, you mentioned a pilot program, and I'm wondering if you've engaged service providers in designing that pilot.
Thank you, Chair, for the question. I think, as Administrator French testified, the city released a challenge-based procurement to solicit qualified vendors, to create under the pilot program what we envision, because we're currently reviewing the proposals now, likely a credit-based or voucher system that will serve as a pilot and inform the practices of the emergency food pantry system in New York City, and we think, as a small pilot, augment the fantastic work of the 700 community-based food pantries. So as we determine a vendor, yes, we are going to bring in and we'll welcome community input. We need to see what the model looks like first. We do have some eligibility criteria that we'll employ, that we will want to work with community-based pantries to get their input on, but principally it will be focused on families, families with children, families with seniors, so we can get some insight into what their purchasing practices are, if they have discretionary income above and beyond what they might have currently, and above and beyond what they're getting from the food pantries. And that's an important point. As participants in the pilot, they still have the ability and are more than welcome to go to any of the pantries around New York City. And I think that will help inform some of the practices that we want to look at as we continue to involve the food pantry system.
Thank you. So it sounds like they haven't necessarily been engaged yet, but that you plan to engage the service providers throughout the pilot?
That's right, Chair. And another point to be made, too, is I think we're all mindful that there are parts of New York City that have less access to nourishing food than others. So we would envision that a component of the pilot would seek to focus on those areas as well, in consultation with our community-based partners.
Okay. I mean, it sounds like a good and necessary pilot. I would just encourage you all to engage with the service providers at the front end of the pilot. They're the ones that are in the communities and doing the work, and I think it's always beneficial to launch a pilot program that has their input at the very beginning to make it the strongest pilot program
Completely
possible. So, okay, how many providers are currently in the CFC network? And I think you mentioned that in the testimony.
It's Chair, it's a little over 700 at this point in time, because we are bringing in pantries and community kitchens periodically. So the number hovers a little above 700, about 90 of which are community kitchens.
Okay, thank you. And are CFC providers given a preset food grant allowance per month or per quarter or year?
Yes, they are, Chair. Broadly speaking, CFC Community Food Connection works with its 700 or so CFC partners on an allocation basis. So, working on a fiscal year basis, there are two primary allocations. One is July 1 to December 31st, January 1st to June 30th, to align with the fiscal year. So we will take what the final adopted budget number is for CFC and essentially split that in half. So, for example, the base number from the adopted budget in FY26 was 49 million. So we split that into roughly 24 plus million across the two allocations, as well as any additional funding we might receive in the course of the year. And as Administrator French noted in his testimony, we're extremely pleased and gratified that the administration in its preliminary budget is seeking to baseline funding for CFC to $69.4 million, which would be an effective tripling of where the baseline has been for a number of years.
And if CFC providers need more food than they've been allocated, what's the process and time frame for them to get approval to order more food?
Well, we are constantly, CFC is constantly interacting with the pantries, and generally the first allocation is based on looking at the supply gap to see where dollars could be most effectively targeted in the first allocation. In the second allocation, we'll look at spending patterns and requests from community-based pantries that might request more funding. We'll see how they did the first half. There was, essentially, did you spend all your funds, and when did you spend all your funds by, is a pretty good barometer as a pantry you might be eligible to receive increased funding. So that's something we look at in the second allocation, and do, as a matter of practice, we'll give more funds to more pantries than they got in the first allocation based on their spending patterns. And it's important to note, too, we work on a fiscal year basis, so it's essential that any funds that we receive are spent and all the pantries of 700 plus take receipt of that food from our contracted vendor by June 30th.
Okay, and sorry, just to clarify the actual time frame. So once a provider says that they need more food, how long might it be until they're able to get approval and additional food?
Right. Thank you. We work, as I said, on 2 6-month allocations. So, for instance, midway through the first allocation, as a pantry, you might register that you're coming close to spending your allocation. It's important to note, too, and we'll take that into consideration for the second allocation. I do want to note, too, that for the last couple fiscal years, we have, above and beyond the adopted figure, we have received some additional funding. So we've been able to do a few supplemental allocations, which also would be the point at which, if a pantry has registered the need for more funding, we can typically accommodate that at that point.
Okay, thank you. What is CFC doing to connect with and support smaller and newer providers?
Thank you for the question. We are always interested in receiving applications from interested pantries from around the city. We have an application online that I think is pretty streamlined and user-friendly. An interested pantry or community kitchen would see that they would need to have been established for at least 4 months, have another primary source of funding. You will need a DOHMH food permit, and you also will need to show evidence of a 5013C tax-exempt status. So, assuming that those conditions are satisfied and you apply to us, we have a pretty speedy turnaround to review and make a determination.
What is that turnaround?
I think within a matter of weeks. We have to sometimes gather information, which will include a site visit. to inspect the physical infrastructure of the proposed pantry. But another important part above and beyond the food budget that we have for CFC is the capacity grants program. This is a program that has been in existence for a few years, and we're happy that we can make up to $2 million each year available for current CFC members to apply. So, for example, in the Bronx, where there might be an existing food pantry that is seeing growing demand and is consistently spending up its allocation. If, in that example, if it could just enlarge its storage space by a factor of 50%, it could intake more food and more effectively serve the community in conjunction with its other funding sources. So in the capacity grant program through CFC, that pantry could make an application and submit quotes from contractors to say, if I could get $50,000, we could really further build out our storage. And those are the kind of applications we welcome and, assuming the paperwork is in order, generally approve.
Okay, great. Thank you. And you sort of answered my next question in that, so I appreciate that. There are currently over 500 listed CFC locations. However, many of these are concentrated in certain boroughs and zip codes. How does DSS ensure that CFC locations are funded in areas with the highest need?
Oh, thank you for the question. So as part of the allocation model, there are a number of components. So a big driver of the allocation methodology is the supply gap, which we look at neighborhood by neighborhood by using what's called the NTA, the Neighborhood Tabulation Area, which is a sort of hyper-local mapping of areas across New York City. So the emergency supply gap is essentially the difference between emergency food need in an area and what the calculated emergency food supply going into that area, which then creates a ranking of NTAs that have the biggest need. And that is a big influencer along with some other elements, such as the number of SNAP recipients in an area that will help the agency prioritize the funds it has each year from the adopted budget in conjunction with the CFC's team's institutional knowledge of the program and their capacity. And that's what gets us to the first allocation of each fiscal year.
And then how does DSS incentivize or otherwise support CFC providers in locations where there may be a mismatch between food access and need?
We, again, have the application online. It's an open application. We strongly encourage any interested pantry to apply. Capacity grants, as I mentioned a moment ago, is another big driver. It's a quiet program, but a highly effective program that has helped any number of awardees basically grow their program over time. I think that's one of the most effective ways of helping address underserved areas.
But that sounds like folks would have to know to go to the website and then apply. So I'm wondering if there's any work that goes sort of above and beyond in matching some providers to areas with greater need where there's a...
Sure, absolutely. I mean, as part of the ongoing dialogue with community leaders and our partners at Food Bank, City Harvest, and United Way, these are the conversations we're having. And of course, the conversations that we're having with City Council, where individual members are flagging areas that they think would benefit from pantries. And then over the last year, we've actually been helpful, I think, in helping some existing programs grow to meet the needs of the individual City Council members have identified.
Okay. And how many agencies requested more food in fiscal year 26?
Well, that's a number that I don't have. I can get to you, but that contemplates the allocation process where we're looking across the spectrum to see how you did with spending and can you take on more funds in the next allocation cycle.
Okay, so we'll wait on those numbers, but were you able to fulfill all of those requests? So of the folks who requested more food, were you able to give them all?
I think, and again, we can follow up with that number. But I think by and large, the answer would be yes. We need, as part of a request, to not only look what your spending pattern is, but also, because we do site visits, to determine based on their institutional experience, if we were to increase your allocation by a quarter, 50%, do you have the capacity at the storage to intake that food? Because it's essential. I mean, not surprisingly, food is moving quickly, but out of the pantries to the people coming to the pantries. But we don't want, particularly fresh produce, to linger very long. So that's part of the decision making. But
Okay.
we'll follow up with you.
Okay, thank you. And then the CFC fiscal 2025 impact report noted that non-CFC providers supply more fresh produce and meat when compared to CFC. Non-CFC providers make up 19% more of the fresh produce supply and 4% more of the meat supply when compared to CFC. What is the current vendor that CFC works with?
We use a contracted vendor that's called H. Schreier. And they have over, I think, 150 items, many of which are fresh produce that are available to pantries to order, along with dry goods and meat and poultry. And so we think that they're effectively meeting the need, but we also, in funding food pantries, we obviously are aware that each pantry is going to have an understanding of the local needs of its community, and that's going to be reflected in what's ordered.
Thank you. Can you walk us through how CFC procures their food supply through this vendor and how the program determines which food items to make available
Sure.
to providers?
Sure. Thank you for the question. So H. Schreier essentially sources its food from around the United States. The majority of items are sourced within the United States, which I think is an important point, because they have been able, by and large, despite all the inflationary pressures and more recent events, have by and large been able to keep prices in line. And sometimes if a price for a specific item, let's say an apple, a specific kind of apple is getting too high, they're able then to look at other apples that might have more favorable prices and swap them in. So they literally source all over the United States. For example, rice is the #1 most requested item by pantries. Most of that comes from Arkansas. And so of the 150 or so items, as I said, about 75% are sourced from within the United States, and about 35% come from...
Sorry, what was the percentage sourced by the United States?
It's a little over 75%.
Okay.
And the remainder, about 35 or so items, a little less than a quarter, is from outside the United States.
Thank you. And what are the fresh produce and meat options provided to CFC providers? And what is the percentage of halal and kosher options?
The majority of items, including chicken, we have halal and kosher options. But it's an important point to note, too, that many of the items are compliant. So, which would include rice, applesauce, spinach, black beans. There's a lot of work that takes place to have all CFC providers be reflective of the needs of their community. And I'm sorry, I may have missed part of your question.
What is the percentage of halal and kosher options? But you're saying basically almost all, or?
Setting aside fresh produce, yes, the majority are kosher or halal acceptable.
Okay. Thank you. And the restaurant meals program allows some SNAP households to purchase prepared meals at participating restaurants. Clients can use their EBT card to make purchases. Do you know how many New Yorkers are enrolled in the restaurant meals program?
I don't have those specifics, so we'll get back to you on usage of that.
Okay. And how is information about the restaurant meals program, including eligibility and how to apply, disseminated?
Much of this program, I think, is coordinated with the Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance, who identify qualifying restaurants for this. So we can get additional information from them and share with you as well. We make it known that there is the program, but they do generate a lot of the. So we'll get back. I'll get back to you with specifics on that.
Okay, so my understanding is that a lot of the qualified restaurants are fast food restaurants, and so you're saying that's all determined at the state level, correct?
Yes, I'll get back to you with very specifics as to how those determinations are made, but I know that is a concern that has been raised before as well.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, I'm going to turn it over to some of my colleagues to ask questions, and we've also been joined by Councilmember Brewer, so we'll start with Councilmember Ung, followed by Morano.
Thank you and good morning. I just have a follow-up question on your testimony regarding the notification for the new federally imposed able-bodied adults well-dependent rules. You testified that you are ensuring that people remain connected to this critical benefit, and that it means that direct client communication, including texts, emails, and push notifications. What languages are all three done in?
Those would be done, let me confirm, but I believe they are being done in the local languages. I will confirm that. We are just starting those.
Right.
So that is just begun. So I will confirm with you exactly. I don't want to misspeak, but I believe we are communicating in the local languages.
Great, thank you. Because in many communities, it is important to communicate in the different languages.
Yeah.
So definitely, if you could get back to us about that, that'd be great. And then about the SNAP benefit legislation. So EBT skimming has been an issue that's been affecting all communities. I really do applaud the effort to work with the different local authorities, especially DOI, district attorneys, because I think I do get a lot of questions about why is it not stopping. They know like there's only so much the government can do on this end, but why is this continue to happen? Why are people getting away with this? So I think I get a lot of those questions. So I think it's important to really bring on home that we are trying to do something from the top end. But moreover to the legislation, you said there are some various concerns. Can you go more into that? And I'm sorry, I know but this is such a huge issue in my community. And also, in terms of getting data, since DSS doesn't have the ability to, deal with this issue directly, is it important to gather data, gather information about EBT skimming?
Sure. So, yes, first off, as much information we can get around skimming and how people can protect themselves is very important. It's why we are encouraging also the state to fast track the implementation of the EBT chip cards, because that is the securest way to ensure someone's benefits don't get stolen. I think our concerns with the bill are there are limitations placed on us in regards to what information we can and cannot access around SNAP in particular. When talking about SNAP, almost everything around data needs to be approved by the USDA. And they were the ones who also instructed us that we were no longer able to actually even accept SNAP skimming applications anymore. So at this point, there is not a incoming system and a tracking system to be able to do that. I think one of the limiting concerns as well is because we aren't able to reimburse these benefits anymore, any information we do get would actually not be representative of probably what the actual issue is in the community or where there might actually be pockets of real concern. And so that is why we want to sort of discuss the legislation a bit more with the council around collectively what might be a approach we might be able to take with the state as well, who may have a bit more ability to access some of that through people requesting replacement cards because they're saying someone stole my benefits and I want a new card, which isn't something the city would have access to.
So can I ask one follow-up question? At one point, did the USDA share that information?
I mean, at one point we were allowed to freely, right? At one point, people could apply directly to us, right? During the skimming period that we had, which was very successful, right? The council member mentioned some data from 2025, but I would say during the whole period where we were allowed to replace both SNAP and cash skimmed benefits, we replaced over $50 million to people, and the majority of that, about 43.7 million, were SNAP benefits, because that's where benefits were being stolen the most. I do want to just, for anybody who's watching, note that if you do get your cash assistance benefits skimmed, you can still get those replaced, so please apply to us for those. But effectively, the federal government has sort of turned off the sort of inflow of information to us for us to be able to better understand what's still going on in the community.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Morano.
Thank you, and thank you, Chair, for this specific oversight topic. I've really come to learn since serving in the council that food insecurity is really something that affects every neighborhood, every district in the city, including mine, which I didn't have a full appreciation of prior to getting elected. And thank you for your testimony today, Mr. French. You've said EBT skimming is a heinous crime and you support moving to chip cards, but then you say creating a SNAP anti-fraud officer isn't feasible. So what is the city's solution right now for someone who gets their benefits stolen tomorrow?
So I will say, I also want to clarify, we have a very robust Office of Accountability at the Department of Social Services, which actually does a lot of our fraud investigation work. So I would say we do have an infrastructure where when we're provided information, we can respond to it, and we do report that information to the authorities such as DOI, district attorneys, or other folks. So I think that's part of why we also want to have a further discussion about the bill, as I think, our structure does speak to sort of the request for a specific position.
But if the city doesn't control the cards and the federal government stop replacing stolen benefits, who exactly is responsible when a low-income family loses their food money? Who do they call that can actually fix it?
Well, at this point, unfortunately, no one can fix that and replace those benefits.
Right.
In regards to if someone's SNAP benefits are stolen. If their cash assistance benefits are stolen, the state and us can replace those. But nobody has any legal authority at this point to replace SNAP benefits. And so there are also, I think, some challenges around creating funds or such that would replace benefits in that way that could actually impact someone's ongoing SNAP, because it would, in theory, be seen as additional income. So there are some real challenges around what we're able to do with SNAP right now, because the federal government has cut off what I think everyone here agrees should be an ongoing process, especially until chip cards are put into place, which is a much more secure way to ensure people's benefits don't get stolen.
You mentioned dozens of trainings and outreach events, but how many people who lost benefits to fraud actually had their money restored? Isn't that the real metric?
So there were, I can say that for the totality of the period of time where we could replace benefits, there were 131,810 total claims that we verified and paid, which equaled about the $50 million that I had talked about. Additionally, individuals were only able to submit a claim once every federal fiscal year, so that's not going to reflect someone who potentially had their benefits skimmed more than once, which unfortunately we had heard about. But based upon all of the applications we had, that's what we have. The need is probably the need was likely higher than that in the community, given some of the limitations that were placed upon us, and then definitely recently our inability to replace anything.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councilmember. And I do want to just sort of reiterate that it is the federal government that has placed us in the circumstance that we're in, where vulnerable families who aren't able to receive their public assistance are not able to then recoup what has been stolen from them. And that's because of decisions that have been made by those who are in power. Councilmember Brewer?
Thank you very much for your great testimony. Many of these pantries, I guess, at least West Side Campaign Against Hunger, also have the ability to help people get benefits when they're there at the pantry. How many do that, and is it possible to have more do that? In other words, you're looking at the whole person, the whole family, and trying to get them situated. So how many, and is that something that should be expanded?
I'll get back to you on the number because I don't have that on me, but I know that there are pantries that also assist people, right? As well as we have other organizations that also help assist people in the community. And so I'll get back to you with the specifics on that, and also what we might be looking at to see how we can expand it. I know we try to do as much as we can. Again, there are at times limitations put on us by the federal government in regards to how much we are or not able to do in the community, but we'll get back to you with detailed specifics.
So the federal government is not happy with us having the ability, while you're there for a pantry, to also help you get on SNAP, to help you get health services and all the other benefits that you're entitled to?
I don't want to say
Bad can you get? Bad.
I'll put that one.
Bad.
That one bad. I think there can be limitations as how far in the application process we can go with individuals, and so I just don't want to misspeak on that. So we'll get back to you with the detailed specifics.
Because I know the health department, for their credit, is trying to, as you go to a health center, help with that, again, getting all benefits so that you're
Yes.
there, et cetera. All right. Next question is urban agriculture. I know it's a small number. We have a wonderful office here in the city. So is that something that you also rely on? In other words, do you find ways to connect some of the pantries to urban agriculture? Well, urban agriculture are farms in New York City, in case you didn't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the like rooftop farms.
Yeah,
and
but I'm
such
just
like
saying
that.
we're trying everything at this point.
Yeah. We will look into that further. It's not something we have current active.
There's an office
partnerships.
here, in case you didn't know, in the city. All right, next is on the issue of getting SNAP. You also, if you get cut off, you get cut off from broadband at the same time. If you cut off SNAP, you also lose your broadband free account. Is that something that, I mean, then you're doubly not benefiting? Is that something that you're aware of? Is that something that we can also, working with OTI, get them back on broadband even though they don't have SNAP, or is that not even in the discussion?
That is something we are looking into. Folks brought that to me recently as well. Some concerns around what might be happening.
It seems
with
to
the
me that
connection
Trump can't
broadband.
do anything about that. We might be able to, okay? And then in terms of the issue of you get cut off sometimes because you're not volunteering, you're not in school, you don't have a job, all those reasons. And I know you're doing outreach, but specifically, what are we doing for, here's a volunteer job, I mean, the whole thing is so ridiculous, but you have to work at it. So how do you involve other agencies, SBS, blah, blah, blah? How are you going about trying to get those ridiculous assignments met?
Certainly. So I am very happy to say that I believe this has been a all of city response, whether it's been elected officials in the council, our sister agencies, SBS, the Mayor's Office of Talent, as well as hundreds of community-based organizations have stepped forward. So for individuals who aren't sort of handling this on their own, and some people are just taking care of this on their own. They're working enough for other things. But for individuals who need assistance, we connect them to our PACE providers, who are our career services, workforce development providers who have been serving individuals on public assistance who have work requirements. And they have a vast array of partnerships with organizations that can connect people to someone who wants to volunteer, do community service, or if they're like, actually, I'd like to explore education or other workforce development. We also created a separate pathway for CBOs to just step forward directly to HRA to register, basically, to say that they want to provide community service volunteer activities. Over 100 CBOs have stepped forward so far, and it is an open process. So someone can visit our website and fill out a partnership form that we have there, and we will continue to add people and connect people to those organizations and let them know who in their neighborhood may be doing that. We also are trying to partner with organizations that we know where we're sharing clients, that a SNAP client is probably also attending some of your programming or receiving services from an organization, and you're probably more likely to comply with at a place that you already are engaged with and that you trust. So we're trying to make that as broad as possible. March was the first month of compliance, so I can say that.
March to June. June's the end of the grace period, right?
Yeah, well, the first month where someone's benefits may be impacted if they do not comply would be June, because they would have not complied for March, April, and May.
Correct.
And you're allowed 3 months of non-compliance before we unfortunately would have to take an action against your SNAP case, either reducing it if it's a multi-person case or closing it if you're a single adult. So we just finished March. We're still finalizing the data to understand how many people complied and how many people didn't. And we are going to really target our outreach efforts on those who we know didn't comply, to further try to engage and make sure that they understand the impact of this and what they need to do and how we can connect them to help to do it.
Okay, and then I know my time's up. The chip, what's the timing on that? I know that you mentioned it. I listened on my cell phone, so I know what you said.
That is really under the purview of OTDA.
Right, I
I'm going to
understand that.
guess. Oftentimes,
Should we be
large scale
pushing that?
things.
Should we be pushing for that as a city council?
I mean, any support is
It seems to me
welcome.
that
I
would
think
be
we
a
just
big
we need I think all parties together to come together and release a budget, hopefully soon, that includes the funding to do that. But projects like that can usually take maybe 12 months or a little bit more, because it is a large scale technological shift that also is going to have to, like, they're going to have to mail people replacement cards. So there's stuff that you're going to want to make sure you've done enough outreach to make sure you have like everyone's appropriate address and other types of things that I'm sure we'll do in
It'd be worth it,
collaboration.
though. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Councilmember. I'd like to acknowledge that we've been joined by Councilmember Mealy, and we'll go to Councilmember Zhuang for questions.
Thank you, Chair. And I just see on the statement, you guys said accountability officer. Can you tell me more information about accountability officer?
Sure. So it's actually an accountability office. So it's it's a large number of individuals with specific units that look at fraud as sort of fraud being reported to us. Sometimes it's about, individuals defrauding a benefits program, but we also have done active work around the skimming and the SNAP and cash assistance benefit stealing, where our accountability office actually are the ones who set up the process. They created sort of the online submission form and created an relatively automated process so that we could process that large number of 131,000 requests and then reimburse people, with their funds. So we're happy to set up a separate time to talk with you about the bill and that office so that you can understand all that it does and how I think it supports much of what's in the bill, but also acknowledges somewhat the limitations of the lack of data insight that we currently have.
So if it's a accountability office already doing the work, so for the fraud officer basically should just be part of the accountability office, right?
Well, I believe there are probably positions that meet the description, as you're saying, for the SNAP fraud officer who looks at maybe a larger number of benefits. So I'm not sure. We think it has to be a SNAP only position, given what we're looking at, around across benefits of trying to.
How many of you guys actually look at the SNAP fraud, like the case, individual case, what happening? I did personally. I see a lot of in my office, same location, same store. My district is in Southern Brooklyn. Always has a Bronx store. Bodega store in Bronx always has scamming there. It's months there. We reported multiple times and no one did anything. And we say this is a state issue, this is a federal issue. Is that right for our city to say, hey, this is not my issue?
Well, I would say we never say it's not our issue. We don't necessarily have the legal authority to take action on certain things, but I will say our accountability office, when stuff is reported to us or we notice trends as they were looking at the different submissions we were getting, we have reported where we potentially think there may be clusters or there are certain stores that repeatedly we keep seeing. Those were reported to the appropriate, law enforcement authorities who would be the ones to do those investigations. And then we've partnered with them on things that we have, highlighted to them. So it is something we still track if it is reported to us, but just we don't have the same level of information coming in that we used to. But we always make sure that we pass the information on to the appropriate legal authority who could take next steps on hopefully, bringing justice for people.
You said that you guys track how much the successful rate, how many cases you actually identify and are able to resolve. Do you have that data?
So yes, I can say we can talk about how many we were able to verify that were submitted to us. So again, it's not the full scope necessarily, but there were 131,000 claims submitted to us that we were able to pay on. We had more claims than that where we weren't able to verify for a variety of reasons, or someone may have been submitting a second claim within the same fiscal year, federal fiscal year, which we were not able to reimburse at that time due to federal limitations.
I mean, how much you actually caught, not how much you paid, how much you actually caught the case, say, this is a fraud, this is a store, have the scam there. Did you have an officer go there to take the machine down?
Right. So again, we don't have the authority to do that type of thing, but we work in partnership with the other authorities. I had mentioned in our testimony that we were part of an operation that was across multiple legal authorities that did seize 100 skimmers, right, in the community. So when folks report stuff to us, right, we are able to look into it and follow up, but we don't have the ability really to look. We don't have the ability to look at just SNAP purchases and identify what we believe would or would not be fraud. We really need someone to report into us, which unfortunately the federal government has said we're not able to do moving forward right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to clarify the number you gave, 131,810. Was that from this current fiscal year or last fiscal year? Sorry.
That's in total from the very beginning of when we were able to reimburse claims. So it is, in theory, an ongoing number. Claim reimbursement began in 2023.
Okay. Thank you. And you might have addressed this a little bit, but what kind of outreach does HRA undertake related to EBT card skimming?
So we've done a variety of things, right? We have definitely tried to highlight in a variety of different modes, whether it's social media, direct communications, training of CBOs. In particular, the ability to freeze your card, which right now is the one way for individuals to try to protect themselves, though it's not a foolproof way to protect themselves. So that's what we've tried to do, as well as putting out materials and information on what to look for around skimming and what a skimming device might look like. But again, right, that is something that I think in the moment when someone's purchasing something, right, these are very sophisticated operations, right? It's not sort of individuals just working on their own, what we have found. So they are sophisticated networks. So again, why we are pushing for the chip cards to be implemented as soon as possible.
Understood. And you all, like you said, do not have the ability or authority to do criminal investigations or prosecutions or anything like that. And, I just want to state for the record that I do think this bill has the potential to make the SNAP program even more vulnerable to cuts here in New York City. And then I want to acknowledge that we've been joined by Councilmember Stevens, and then get into some questions about the changes to or changes under HR 1. So does DSS know how many New Yorkers have lost access to SNAP since the changes to work requirements under HR 1 took effect? And do you expect this number to increase in the coming months?
Sure, thank you. So as of today, no one will have lost their SNAP benefits due to the new work requirements, as March was the first month of compliance. But June, if someone does not comply in March, April, and May, would be the first month where we would see benefit reduction or closure due to noncompliance with the work requirements. Now, I can't say that individuals haven't potentially self-selected themselves out of SNAP. due to fear of these changes, right?
Or lack of information.
Or lack of information, right? Which we definitely try to make sure that there's a lot out there. But, to date right now, there are approximately 122,000 SNAP recipients who are identified as ABODs. So that's 122,000 of the total 1.7 million. That number will continue to evolve based on both new applicants coming to SNAP who are approved and identified as ABOD, as well as the way ABOD has been rolled out for existing SNAP clients. We didn't just flip people on like November 1st when the new eligibility went into place. We can't actually find someone ABOD eligible until we do an assessment. So we are assessing people as they recertify. And that will go through the end of October, basically, for the current existing SNAP population when the eligibility criteria changed on November 1st. So it is fluid, but I think we are focused very much so, especially in the front end, on making sure that anybody who is eligible for an exemption receives an exemption, so they just get taken off the list. And so there's ongoing work doing there, but happy to keep you updated, over the months as we sort of see what happens with that total number.
Okay, that sounds good, and thank you. HR 1 increases the able-bodied adults without dependents or ABOD work requirement age from 54 to 64. How is HRA specifically supporting older adults in regard to meeting the new work requirements?
Certainly. So, we've been doing a lot of outreach through our community-based organization network. I know many of the organizations that have stepped forward to be organizations that provide community service and volunteer opportunities, provide robust older adult programming, and that's one of the reasons why they have stepped forward, and one of the ways we also wanted to open up this opportunity, because I know I worked in aging prior to coming to the city government, and every older adult center relies on volunteering. So again, if we can provide the opportunity for someone to do their hours in a place where they also go and get a meal or attend a class, we would like to encourage that as much as possible, as well as working with our colleagues at the Office of Aging to make sure that we can provide informational seminars and trainings to organizations that serve that population so that they know exactly what's happening and how they can support individuals.
Thank you. The changes to SNAP's policies towards ABODs affect approximately 123,000 New Yorkers, or you said 122,000?
Between
122 and 123,000. According to data provided to the city by HRA, how many people out of that number have been reached out to by the agency?
So we have been reaching out to everybody who is an ABOD. So for individuals that were ABODs prior to November 1st, we had a series of communications to those individuals to tell them what was happening, as well as to connect individuals who needed it to appointments at our PACE providers. And then ongoing, as someone is identified as an ABOD, there is a series of notices that will go out. Individuals can receive those electronically through their Access HRA account or in the mail or both. And then we are continuing to do follow-up communications, especially with individuals we note do not seem to have complied, to consistently remind them in both mail and electronic communications about the requirements and what that means for them and how they can get help.
Thank you. And HR 1 shifts a significant amount of SNAP costs onto individual states. States with a higher error rate are expected to have a higher cost burden. According to the PMMR, the SNAP error rate in FY23 was 14.46%, and in FY24 was 16.63%. The administration's target is a 6% error rate for this year. What steps are you taking to reach this target error rate?
Certainly. So we're taking a variety of steps. to be able to reduce the error rate, we are focusing on where we know many of our worker-based errors may come from, and working on ways to provide tools to individuals and to our workers to help them, in particular around earned and unearned income, to do that. But it's important to note that the error rate comprises multiple different factors. Some of it is worker-caused error. Some of it is client-caused error, where the client is supposed to report to us a change in income and they fail to do so, which is not something we are able to catch at all times. And then there are some errors that are due to inadvertent technical issues and mailer issues that actually can sort of have stay with you for a long time, because the way the error rate is compiled is it's not looking at like a recent action to show a representation of like, this is currently what's happening in the program. It looks at the last action. And so depending on an individual case, that last action could be 6 months ago, could have been a year ago. For some cases, it could have been a couple of years ago, because certain cases don't have to like recertify every 2 years. So there's a variety of factors, but where we can control and take efforts, we have enhanced our training for staff. We have enhanced our technology by including sort of more checks and balances that request, workers look at one thing and not again before they move forward. And then there's a tool we're developing as well that will utilize AI to just cross-reference the information we've received from an individual and the information that has been entered into the system to flag any discrepancies before a worker proceeded. So it doesn't replace a worker's job. It's just a tool to help flag, you should go look at this one piece again, because maybe their paycheck is every 2 weeks, but inadvertently it got entered that it was every week. That would be a wrong calculation, which we would want to catch before we transmitted a budget to avoid a payment error.
I'm gonna. Yes.
Imminent.
It
It's imminent. It's imminently coming. We are about to start piloting it.
Okay, but in our you're using AI though already in other ways.
We are not. I know people thought we were using AI in other ways at that point. This will be the first thing we're using that utilizes AI. But again, it doesn't do a worker's job. It does not replace a worker taking action. This AI will basically cross-reference submitted materials and data matches versus what was manually entered into the budget fields in the system. And it's a step that will happen right before someone transmits the budget. And it will basically flag, hey, here are 2 places where the numbers appear off. You should go and double check them first so that we can resolve this in case an error has been made.
Understood. But has the staff been trained on this AI tool already?
No, but everyone will be trained before they utilize it. The pilot is expected to happen at the end of April.
Okay,
So in a
I'm
couple
asking
weeks.
because at our preliminary budget hearing, we had testimony
Yes.
from some of the union employees who were speaking specifically about the use of AI.
Yes.
So I'm just trying to.
I think that was a misunderstanding in regards to what was and was not happening. We have included certain staff in the development of this tool. So we have not done this on our own. We have utilized staff who are frontline staff, as well as supervisor staff and others, to develop the tool. But the development of the tool was not we were not using the tool on any active cases at that point. The tool was
But
developed.
that's why I was asking
based on
if
old
folks have been
cases.
involved in the training, because then that's how perhaps a misunderstanding
Yeah, they've been
could
involved
have
in the
come about. If they're-
development,
right.
and then everyone will be trained before anyone uses the tool in like real time on an actual live case that has come forward.
Okay. I'm just trying to sort their testimony with your testimony and, sort of figure out what.
I think it was a
what is actually
misunderstanding of what was happening at that moment. But we
Okay.
have not rolled out active use of AI in our programs yet. We have been developing it, and we'll be starting a pilot in the next 2 weeks.
Okay, well, perhaps I will do a hearing specifically on the integration of AI then when it's up and running in collaboration with our Committee on Technology. Okay, HR 1 completely eliminates funding for the SNAP Ed program, which provides free nutrition education workshops and cooking classes to SNAP recipients. How will DSS ensure that SNAP recipients are still able to receive nutrition education and other benefits that SNAP Ed provides?
So the SNAP Ed funds were actually not utilized at HRA. They were utilized at, I believe it was DOHMH, were the ones who received those funds and managed those funds.
Okay, thank you. The city reported that HRA has held training sessions with its community partners and trained over 400 people on the new SNAP policy changes. How is DSS HRA communicating the SNAP cuts and new work requirements for current recipients? But I think you've sort of addressed that. So I'm going to move into food in shelters. What type of food items are available in drop-in centers, and who is the supplier?
So drop-in centers, sorry, I'm hoarse. Drop-in centers receive food through the regular vendor process through DHS. And it's food that's in compliance with the nutrition standards.
Okay, is there a specific supplier?
I believe that they do a bidding process to select the vendor for the food. We can look into which vendors have been selected.
Okay, maybe your colleague has information.
Yeah, she's confirming that they have different vendors.
Okay.
So it would be similar to DHS shelters, who also contract out for food provision. Similarly, the drop-in centers would do the same thing, where they have to do a competitively bid process.
Okay. And do all drop-in centers provide food?
Yes, this is a requirement.
Okay. And you just mentioned that food distributed at drop-in centers is part of the provider contracts. Is that it's a separate contract though, or is it directly administered through DHS?
So they have the right to contract out for food that's then delivered and distributed.
Who is they? The drop-in centers?
Yes, the drop-in center.
Okay.
That's the provider.
Okay.
The provider, it would be within the overall provider budget.
Okay. Thank you. And what was the actual spending on food and drop-in centers in fiscal 2025?
We don't have those numbers, but we can get them to you.
Okay. In addition to that, I would love to know what it is so far in fiscal 26, and then what's the budget for fiscal 27.
Got it.
Thank you. Does DHS conduct benefits screening and enrollment at drop-in centers?
Yes, that's part of the requirements.
And can you walk us through how this works and how DHS connects these clients to benefits?
So every client who enters the drop-in center is engaged in an application where we assess what current benefits they have and what benefits they would be eligible for.
And then do you help them to enroll, or are you
Yes.
just notifying them?
They go through the entire process of doing the application with them, helping them to get the documents that are necessary and submitting the documents to respective offices.
Okay, great. And what do outreach efforts look like for individuals who are street homeless? How does DSS?
Oh, God, sorry.
No, it's okay. How does DSS let people know what food options are available to them, such as where to find pantries and soup kitchens, or how to apply for SNAP benefits?
So every contracted outreach provider is responsible for ensuring that they are offering the ability for clients to start the application for SNAP benefits from the streets, which includes helping them to get the necessary identification. Also, they are provided with a list of pantries and food centers within the area, as well as and to the local soup kitchens in the respective areas.
Sorry, the person who's street homeless is provided with a list of those
Yes.
food pantries?
Yes, and they can be escorted to these pantries as well by the outreach provider.
Okay. And at the February 25th, 2025 Committee on Economic Development hearing on food quality in New York City shelters, DHS testified that there are 3 methods by which shelters procure foods. DHS operated shelter direct service contracts with food providers, providers subcontracting with a food vendor, or providers preparing their own food on site. Do you know in fiscal year 25 how many quality control inspections have resulted in corrective action plans?
The question was for 26. So in April of 2025, we initiated the food vendor quality improvement policy, and because it was the first
Sorry, can
year-
you speak up just a little bit?
because it was the first year of the policy, we focused on the process, the testing, revising the policy based on our lessons learned, and conducting DHS meal quality tests. So providers should check, and DHS will do meal quality tests. The shelter providers are responsible for initiating the increased monitoring if something's not acceptable. DHS has yet to receive reports of increased monitoring from providers, but in fiscal year 2025, I believe there was one. In 2026 fiscal year, there was one vendor that went
Sorry,
on.
there's one in fiscal year 2025 or one so far in fiscal 26?
One from 2025.
Okay. And do you know how many so far in fiscal year 26?
One.
Is it the same one?
No.
Different one. Okay. And so the one from fiscal 25 has a corrective action plan. Was that fulfilled?
Yes. The vendor showed improvement and services continued.
Okay, great. And how many of the corrective action plans were directed at DHS's food providers, provider subcontractors, and providers preparing food on site? So do you know if that one was a DHS food provider, a subcontractor, or a provider that was preparing food on site?
It was a subcontractor in 2025.
So it's subcontract. Most of our shelters have a
Subcontractor.
provider contracted, and they subcontract with raw food. So in 25 and 26, it was a subcontract from the primary contract.
Okay. So for each of those in 25 and 26. Okay, and are all vendors able to provide halal and kosher certified food?
That is part of the requirement when you're entering into a subcontract. They have to be able to provide these meals.
Okay, great. And what does the certification process look like? How does DHS verify those certifications?
The certification for halal and kosher.
Mm-hmm.
So DHS is working with MOFP to revise the
Sorry, you're
the
working
Mayor's
with-
Office of Food Policy. Sorry. DHS is working with the Mayor's Office of Food Policy, who is releasing guidance to clarify the halal and kosher certification requirements and ensure all contractors and subcontractors are compliant with the New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets halal and kosher registration programs.
Okay. And what's the difference between nutrition requirements for single adult shelters and family shelters, which also feed children?
So the difference for overall, they follow the same food standards and they have to report on the same requirements. So they would have to all have calorie needs. In July of 2026, the calorie will increase for the adults in shelters. The minimum will be 2,200. So that will go into effect in July.
Okay. Can you just talk a little bit about how the nutrition requirements for children in shelters compared to the nutrition requirements for DOE school meals?
They'd be the same. The same.
Is there any difference?
No, because they all follow the New York City food standards.
Okay, so I want to know. I know that the written food standards are what we should be following.
So we ask our vendors and providers to provide age-appropriate meals, and we use the oldest age category in the food standards, which is age 9 to 13. For the breakdown.
You said, sorry, age 13?
9 to 13.
Oh, 9 to 13.
It was the age range in the food standards. So they broke down the calories.
So if you have a toddler in a shelter.
So they should have age-appropriate meals for baby food and transitional food. And if you have a toddler in the shelter, they would be able to eat the older child's meal, assuming they eat less of it. Like children just monitor their own hunger cues.
Okay. And what was the calorie requirement for adults, or what is the current calorie requirement before it takes effect in July for 2,200?
2,000 plus or minus 10%.
2,000.
So it's a range of 1,800 to 2,200.
Sorry, 18.
1,800 calories to
1,800.
2,200 calories is the
Oh, okay.
current range.
So about 2,000. Okay. We've heard, I mean, this is obviously just anecdotal, but we've heard from a lot of shelter residents and, service providers and, even teachers who, have serious concerns, and I'll say I do too, about the types of food that children specifically are receiving or have access to in the shelter system. So I understand that on paper, they're supposed to provide a certain type of meal and hit certain calories and all of that. But I think the reality is that the food is not particularly adequate, I would say. So
Essentially, children can eat the adult meal, and we want our children to expand their palates and be exposed to new food. So having an adult meal, you would, as any family would eat at the table, the same meal.
Right.
But we do understand that children sometimes have preferences. And then if a children doesn't want to eat a meal, then they're not eating a meal.
Right.
So our first approach was make sure that we had different options like other agencies that are feeding children, but expanding different flavor profiles. Now we have made an active approach to tell all our vendors to increase those child favorite entrees on your menu, because if it's just a less stressful meal process, that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because I think while I recognize that the requirements are the same for food in shelters as they are for food in schools, I think the quality of the meals perhaps might differ between food provided in shelters and food provided in schools. I've heard complaints about school food too, but that's not my area, so I'm not going to get into that. But I'll say broadly, I think the food that's provided for children in schools is of higher quality and perhaps more desirable than the food that's provided to children in shelters. But I recognize that, kids eat what adults eat, generally speaking. But I think when the quality overall is substandard, then you're getting kids who are living in shelter who have access only to, or
Right.
presumably only to, inadequate food options, let's say. So whatever we can do to address that, I think particularly for shelters with children would be great.
Agree.
Okay.
But I also want to acknowledge that in our families with children facilities, the majority of our families, children facilities, the family prepares their own meals. Currently, we have approximately, I was getting the numbers for you, 270 facilities that are servicing families with children, where about approximately 100, the providers providing the meals versus 170 where the family's actually preparing the meal. So I want to put those numbers in context, because we're also working on ensuring that more families are in Tier 2 facilities versus hotels where we provide the meal. But in those facilities, we've been working very closely with our nutritionists to ensure that, as she said, there are meals that are preferable for our children.
Right.
Because we understand and acknowledge that they're not going to like, and some of them may be picky eaters.
Yeah, I get that. I have a 2.5-year-old, so
I have a
can
30-year-old.
can relate. So for the 170 families that are providing their own meals,
170 facilities.
the families in 170 facilities, thank you for the correction, that are providing their own meals, do they also have access to meals in the shelter, or the only option is for them to provide their own meals in those facilities?
So in these 170 facilities, the facilities are kitchen, they have their own kitchen. So they cook and they prepare. What we do in the shelters work very closely with our colleagues at HRA to ensure that families are enrolled in public assistance. And for those families that may not have public assistance in a short period, that there are pantries and food on site that would transition while they are waiting for their public assistance case to open.
Okay.
Just like in drop-ins, we work very closely with the families to ensure they're applying and follow the process and assist them with submitting documents and things. Our current rate is almost 85% of all eligible families that are currently on public assistance at the DHS.
Okay, what are you doing to get them to 100%?
They may not qualify for 100%. It's all based on income, and if it's a family has a high income, they may not qualify. So
would
but
you-
for those that do qualify, our goal is to ensure that they are eligible for that, because it's about how we train them and educate them that they're eligible for this benefit, and ensuring that the case managers are working with the families to apply and get that service.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I have the statistics correct. Of the eligible families, or let me say, of the total families in the pool, or 85% of the families in your pool are qualified for public assistance, which is to say that every family that is eligible for public assistance is receiving public assistance? I just want to make sure I'm
No, I think it's 85% of who we believe would be eligible are on public
Which
assistance.
is why I was asking, what
And
are we
so
doing to get them
we
to
could-
100%? Because if they're not eligible, then
Right. So I think DHS and their providers continue to work with and encourage families to apply, but we need partnership and the family actually doing the application process. So
So
I
that's the
think
issue then.
that's what the providers are consistently doing. It's not something that we just are like 85 is good. 85 is good, but we are trying
Yeah,
to
85 isn't
encourage
bad,
other
but-
other folks, but it is a limiting factor is if the family is resistant for some reason, and so
Okay.
the provider just continues to try to explain why it would be beneficial for them to avail themselves of that benefit.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify the eligibility and who's actually receiving the benefits.
That's correct.
Okay, okay,
For the French side.
okay, thank you. What was DHS's actual spending on food provided in shelters in fiscal 2025?
So the 3 DHS contracts, all of which are a 3-year renewal, Whitson's was 93 million. Dahl was 23,527,857.50.
Sorry, 23 million or 923 million?
23.
23 million. Okay. And so far in fiscal 26, do you have that number?
This is the number that they provided for the 3-year renewal. So this is
Oh,
We'll get back to you with the specific. We'll follow up. We'll confirm
okay.
it with our finance.
And then
get
also for
back to you.
27.
Yeah.
would be
And
helpful.
but just to clarify, are you asking because there's DHS contracts, but then
Yes.
there's also the amount of food funding that would be done through subcontracts. Just want to clarify.
You can give us both. That'd be great. Thank you. And then City Limits recently released a report about the difficulties homeless families face in accessing sufficient and appropriate food and shelters. The report noted that families receive food insufficient to meet their nutritional needs, and that many families who request reasonable accommodations to access rooms with kitchens and food storage are not successful. Can you explain how the reasonable accommodation process works for clients with medical needs related to nutrition and diets? And what other kinds of accommodations might be available for someone who requires a specialized diet?
So every family that needs or puts in a request, we have a unit within DSS that reviews those, and it's based on medical documentation. We have a Office of Health that collaborates and ensures that the documents are provided, and can call the doctors if they don't have enough documents to substantiate the need for a kitchen. Overall, if it's about having certain type of meals, whether we discussed halal or kosher, those are not reasonable accommodations. Those are automatically granted because all our subcontracts have to have the ability to provide those meals. Now, if it's for a kitchen in specific, like I said, there has to be medical documentation, which is reviewed, and then a decision is determined. If the kitchen is not what's warranted, then we work with the provider to ensure the meals that the child or the adult may need is part of the process that is granted and given to the family.
Okay, and are families in shelters allowed to bring their own food items into the shelter, assuming they're in the 100
That
sites
provide
that
meals?
don't- yeah.
The answer is recently we put in a memo that we are allowing them to bring in meals that they could eat in the cafeteria or in their room. So the answer to your question is yes.
Okay. Are there limitations on the types of food that's permitted?
What we're encouraging is that they provide a meal for a day just because of the setting that they're in
Sorry, a meal for what?
for like the day.
Oh,
Not
not like bringing
exactly,
in
not to cook
groceries or-
inside these
Yeah.
hotel rooms because that brings other issues and concerns. So they can bring in meals that they are going to consume on that day.
Okay.
And that they could do that every single day if they wish.
Okay. Okay, SNAP processing and enrollment. According to the annual report of SNAP enrollment and recertification for seniors for 2024, SNAP enrollment for older adults has increased by over 120,000 since 2017. What does HRA attribute this increase to?
I think it is attributable to the overall increase we've also been seeing in SNAP, right? I think, as well as I think the aging of the New York City population, right? We are a city that is aging, and so I think that is sort of those are the types of things we account for it, as well as I think our expanded outreach and the ways in which we've tried to make it easier for individuals to apply for SNAP, especially through Access HRA, allowing for on-demand phone interviews so individuals don't have to come into our centers, as well as working closely with aging providers so that they also understand how to assist someone and have the ability to track someone's benefit case through our provider portal, given the individual gives them consent. So I think those are a variety of ways we would see an increase in the older adult population, as well as overall.
And what types of outreach activities have you found to be most effective?
I mean, in general, I think really going into the community and training, right? I think our community outreach trainings that they provide are extremely effective and extremely well received by providers in the community, because I think that is where an individual might be more receptive to actually applying, right? If it's a trusted messenger, which often might be your local community organization rather than sort of an official notice from HRA or a city worker. So we find that to be particularly effective, as well as, right, we highlight older adults in many of our social media campaigns and other activities that we do around general SNAP, awareness.
I think if there are opportunities to engage council members, local council member offices, I'd love to work with you on trying to work with my colleagues in doing that. Yeah. And then are there any new outreach activities you're planning to undertake in the coming year?
We're going to continue to sort of, enhance our existing SNAP outreach campaign. I think, many of the things we're also going to be focusing on are more ABOD specific. So we're currently working collaboratively with City Hall and the Office of Mass Engagement to do more targeted community-based outreach around ABOD, but within that, we'll also be doing SNAP general outreach with those groups. So that is something we expect to roll out in the next few weeks.
Okay. And then HRA set up a volunteering program for CBOs to support cash assistance and SNAP recipients' compliance with work requirements. Can you walk us through step by step how this volunteer program actually works in practice?
Sure. So there's two pathways to it, actually. There is a more formalized pathway and then a more self-structured pathway. But to start, every organization interested would submit a web-based form we've created that gives us general outlines of the organization, what is the organization's mission, and then in particular, what type of activities do they have available so that we can ensure they comply with what would be considered an allowable activity. And then organizations can choose one of two pathways. One is a more formalized pathway where the organization will take referrals and assignments from us and from our PACE providers for folks who need activities. And that organization would also then track someone's attendance. They would report that person's attendance to the PACE provider. So there's more of administrative requirements to that one. The second avenue, which is more of a self-enrolled, is for organizations to say, we provide community service, volunteer opportunities. We are open into providing these opportunities to individuals who might want to avail themselves of it. And then individuals who have to comply can reach out to an organization of their choice, do their activities. That organization has agreed to sign the very simple monthly form that has to get submitted to us, and then the SNAP recipient would submit that documentation. So that one has less of a administrative burden for a nonprofit organization. So we wanted to provide both avenues for folks. And then we'll be sharing that information, especially folks who are open to self-enrolled. We'll be providing that information to individuals, especially like a list of organizations in your community that have said they're open to doing this.
That would be great. And I know Councilmember Brewer, not everybody has the mailing list that Councilmember Brewer has,
Very
but I
true.
know she has a very extensive mailing list that if all of us can send out that information, we'd love to receive that. And
Certainly.
100,000.
100,000 people. And just in keeping in the same vein, with the PACE providers, are the jobs being offered paying more than minimum wage? As far as you know?
There's a variety of pay scales that happen, right? We definitely try to primarily focus on, jobs that pay a good wage, which is more than the minimum wage. But, depending on also people's interests, skill sets, where they may be at that point in time, we definitely have minimum wage jobs available for people who are interested in that, or maybe that is the job that they're starting at, but it aligns with an overall plan for them to develop, more educational training or get certifications that can proceed them on. We then have other programs that definitely connect folks to better paying jobs through apprenticeships and other participation. So we have a wide range of what we're offering, but we want to ensure that we have more than just minimum wage jobs available for folks.
Good news. And then is there any funding or specific support that HRA is providing to CBOs to manage and sustain this work and sort of both routes or paths that you mentioned?
So at the moment, we do not have additional funding, which is why we created both paths, so that for organizations that maybe have the administrative capability to do this, they can. But for folks who do not, we've created as sort of like low touch as possible, where we're just trying to be incorporated in your already existing structures and not asking you to do additional information. It is something that we will continue to look at. I think we'll see the volume of uptake. And I get a lot of feedback from these organizations that we sort of take into account as we continue to sort of look at ongoing planning, and I think as a city, think about the Medicaid work requirements that are coming that are, I think, even more concerning than the SNAP. They're both very bad, but the Medicaid requirements will impact an even larger number of people.
Very concerning. The FY26 preliminary mayor's management report shows a decrease of over 100,000 New Yorkers receiving SNAP as compared to fiscal year 25, whereas the number of SNAP recipients has historically risen year on year. Do you have any ideas as to what may have caused this decrease?
We don't have specifics, but I think there's probably a combination of things that could have taken into account. I think the rolling out of HR1, right, definitely, I think, had a chilling effect on individuals for a variety of reasons, where they may have self-selected, unfortunately, out of the SNAP program, whether they were concerned about the impending work requirements, whether they were concerned about what was meant by the change in eligibility for certain immigrant populations, as well as, I think, overall talk of, other limitations the federal government was going to be bringing on this. So we continue to try to emphasize to the community, if you believe you are eligible, apply. Just apply, right? That is the most important thing to do. It's what we do with CBOs. It's why we've really done ongoing and will continue to do community briefings, which reach 800 to 1,000 individuals each time, right? To really reiterate these messages and make sure that in the community, they understand what is fact and what is rumor. And I think, starting in July and then ongoing of last year, there were lots of rumors and concerns as to what was going to happen. And I think that impacted things, right? And got even worse when you saw, right? The announcement that they were going to fast track ABOD rollout, and then the government shut down, and then people weren't going to be getting their SNAP benefits. So I think a variety of things probably potentially led to a chilling effect of individuals maybe self-selecting themselves out.
Thank you. According to the PMMR, the SNAP timeliness rate for the first 4 months of FY26 is 89.8%. This is an improvement to the timeliness rate of 65.1% in fiscal year 24. What steps did DSS take to improve the timeliness rate so dramatically?
A variety of things that we started when we were experiencing the backlogs, right, of several years ago. We kept those ongoing. So we onboarded about 1,500 new staff in about 2 years. In addition to that, we really doubled down on training with individuals, which I think, given new staff, these are not easy, simple processes to work through, and so I think some of our timeliness was kept lower than we would have liked it to because of the difficulties of the process. But I think this is a reflection of our focus and commitment to ensuring that we were providing the appropriate training to staff, as well as implementing technological advancements and utilizing waivers, so that for things that maybe didn't need to be done by a staff person, those were automatically being done based upon criteria that we worked on with the state to get waivers. So I would say a variety of those things, and then really keeping a very focused eye on daily management of the processes, so that if we need to shift staff to ensure that we're keeping up with the demand, say we have a very high call volume on one day, we shift staff, more staff on the phones, less staff on processing, and then you sort of shift it back to make sure that you're keeping it balanced. But, and lastly, I think it's because of the really hard work and dedication of the frontline staff who, have really committed themselves to being able to sort of improve our timeliness and get people connected to benefits as soon as we can.
And that's all great news, and I'm happy to hear that. And I am confident that that good work will continue. But what will you do in order to bring the timeliness rate up to the target of 85% and beyond? More of the same?
More of the same. I think 95% is our goal. And so more of the same in regards to that. On the cash assistance side as well, we are implementing some other automation that I think is causing that rate to sort of artificially be lower than it really is, just because in the process on the cash side, there are certain cases that require an extra step to officially close it out. And in those instances, we would have given a person the benefit, but the case would technically still be open in our system. So we're looking to address that issue so that we can automatically have those cases closed. So it's a much truer representation of the timeliness rate. And that should happen later this month.
Excellent. While DHS's MMR includes data on the percentage of families with children who receive public benefits, this data is not available on single adults and adult families. Can you tell me what percentage of single adults and adult families received public benefits in fiscal 2025 and so far in fiscal 2026? And specifically, what percentage received SNAP benefits?
The 85% I reported is on families with children. I will have to get back to you on the single adults.
Okay. Yeah, we have the families with children, but we don't have single adults and adult families.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. And then actually one question on going back to our discussion on AI. Will you conduct a pre-deployment assessment with the newly established Office of Algorithmic Data Accountability, which the council passed legislation to create that?
I know we are getting all of the approvals with the organizations we are supposed to be. I'm not sure about that in particular, but we are working through OTI's process. We also had to we are working through a process with the Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance, as well as working through our own internal controls to ensure that we have the appropriate parameters and and guardrails on the utilization of the technology. So we've been working very closely with a variety of different oversights to ensure that we are complying with what is intended, and also being very clear about what our tool is, and more importantly, is not actually doing.
Okay, thank you. And then I want to ask a couple of questions around the preliminary racial equity plan. The New York City preliminary racial equity plan was released last month in March. DSS's medium-term goals include reducing food insecurity for participating families in the food pantry plus pilot in targeted critical neighborhoods. Strategies include testing the efficacy of a novel voucher program for families who are food insecure and not receiving SNAP. Can you tell us more about the Food Pantry Plus pilot and how long will the pilot last, and when do you expect the program to begin?
Thanks for the question. So that's the program we spoke about a little bit earlier, the
Right.
pilot that we'll be undertaking. So for the first year, it will be funded at $1 million of direct food assistance with, I think, 25% above and beyond that for administrative costs. If in our Office of Evaluation and Research is going to be undertaking a study of the pilot, and if we're pleased with the pilot results in year one, we have the ability to extend it and double the population of families served in years 2 and 3.
Okay, and so it's for 3 years initially?
Yes, potentially, yes.
3-year pilot, okay. And sorry, did you say the start date?
We are in the process right now of reviewing the proposals that were submitted, so we have to select someone, go into contract. So we are anticipating FY27 to initiate.
But perhaps calendar year 2026?
It's possible, but we need to get to a contract.
Okay.
Yes.
And then I don't think you shared the specific targeted critical neighborhoods that the pilot will take place in. Do you have those yet, or is that still part of the contracting process?
Those will be determined by the response that we receive and approve,
Okay.
and as we discussed in discussing with our community partners.
Okay, and how will the efficacy of the pilot be evaluated?
Yeah, thank you for the question. It's as part of enrolling, and again, I can't prejudge the outcome because the proposals are still being reviewed, but one of the components, regardless of what the approach is settled on, will be the collection of aggregated, not individual, purchasing data to give us insight into what people are most interested in purchasing, which will, and I will note too, it will also include, obviously food pantries are providing food, but we're not unmindful that low-income families need other things such as hygiene products, which are not typically SNAP eligible. So part of the pilot too will provide the ability to buy hygiene products such as diapers, adult diapers, similar products to that in conjunction with food. So we'll get aggregate data on what people are buying and in what quantities, which ideally will help inform what we're also doing in our brick and mortar pantry system, the 700 plus community providers.
And what will the voucher amount be?
That will range. We would anticipate that obviously families of 3 and 4 will get a higher amount than singles. So we likely will take a look at DOHMH's program that has currently, where its vendor has been Mercado, has been its online vendor, and they have levels. So we haven't settled on the final levels, but we are going to take a look at what they were doing, and I apologize for not remembering them off the top of my head.
That's okay. You could send them to us later.
Sure.
Thank you. And then you said it sounds like the vouchers are going to be available for use of various purchases, right?
Food and other, approved items,
Yeah, okay, great. Okay, I'd like to get into a couple of questions about the legislation, the proposed legislation. I know we addressed a lot of questions already about Councilmember Zhuang's bill, but Intro 790 from Councilmember Joseph. How many warming centers are there in the city at present?
So currently, DHS has 2 warming centers that we're operating or contracted to have operated.
Okay. And, sorry, that's DHS?
Yeah, so we have a process, a small purchase process where folks could bid to provide warming center services during cold blue season. We had 2 that opened for this cold blue season.
And do you know how many are operated by any other agencies?
So these are operated by nonprofit organizations. And in addition to the warming centers, we operate warming buses, and we operate those during the cold blue season. And then when it gets warm, we turn them into cooling buses.
And how many of those do you have?
Currently, I believe we have 16 in total.
But I think one of the things raised in the legislation is that there are other agencies also can go into this space, and we don't necessarily have the full insight into that, which is
Right.
why I think we want to talk about the reporting bill and sort of what makes the most sense to make sure all of the areas where this is being done are being reflected.
Right. Okay. Thank you. And do you know how many individuals used warming centers during the most recent cold spell?
So we have.
Is this a cumulative number or your 2 warming center
Yes,
numbers?
I was about to say, so DHS does have the data on how many folks use our services.
Okay.
We do not have the data for the bigger project that include the warming centers through the Office of Emergency Management, but we can provide you with data around who used our warming buses and the DHS warming centers. Yes.
Okay. You're now or later?
Oh, no, we can provide it to you. We
Okay,
can get you the
later.
data. Yes. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. And how does DSS collaborate with DOHMH and OEM during a code blue to mobilize warming centers?
I think that is oftentimes taken within an overall administrative response, right? So I think, in the winter, what happened there, I think oftentimes Nycc may take an overall coordinating activity with other agencies involved, but then there's an overall administrative decision if there are additional, if additional services are needed, it would be done through that process, leveraging each of our expertise or what we have available to us.
And to Administrator Scott's point, also one of the things that took place with this recent rollout is that DHS was responsible for providing the Office of Emergency Management with a list of locations that we thought would be most beneficial to place the warming centers in order to support our street homeless individuals.
Okay, excellent. I'm just confirming, Councilmember Stevens, that you don't have any questions? Alrighty. That's it for me. Thank you all so very much. I appreciate your time.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, I now open the hearing for public testimony, and I want to remind members of the public that this is a government proceeding and that decorum shall be observed at all times. As such, members of the public shall remain silent at all times. The witness table is reserved for people who wish to testify. No video recording or photography is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recordings as testimony, but may submit transcripts of such recordings to the Sergeant-at-Arms for inclusion in the hearing record. If you wish to speak at today's hearing, please fill out an appearance card with the Sergeant-at-Arms and wait to be recognized. When recognized, you will have 2 minutes to speak on the oversight topic, which is food insecurity and hunger in New York City, and the 4 pieces of legislation on our agenda. If you have a written statement or additional written testimony you wish to submit for the record, please provide a copy of that testimony to the Sergeant-at-Arms. You may also email written testimony to testimony@council.nyc.gov within 72 hours of this hearing. Audio and video recordings will not be accepted. And the first person is Isabel Ortega Romero from the Office of Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso. Perfect.
Thank you, Chair Hudson and members of the committee for holding this hearing today and for your continued work to ensure that all New Yorkers have access to the social safety net they need to survive. My name is Isabel Ortega Romero, and I am representing Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso, who remains a committed partner in protecting low-income families who are struggling to put food on the table. The Borough President supports the proposals to establish a SNAP anti-fraud officer within DSS and to call on the state to create a SNAP and Cash Assistance Fraud Victims Fund. SNAP serves 1.73 million New York City residents, including more than 500,000 children. SNAP is not only a food security program, but also a public health necessity as it improves health outcomes and allows families to use their limited resources for rent, utilities, and medical expenses. Yet when benefits are stolen, families are left to fend for themselves. Nearly 95,000 low-income households have had their SNAP and cash assistance stolen through electronic fraud in 2025, with a total of $47.7 million in losses. In Brooklyn, more than 51,000 residents have experienced SNAP fraud, and community organizations like Red Hook Initiative have been forced to step in, filing claims for over $40,000 in stolen benefits from Red Hook residents alone. Borough President Reynoso strongly supports Intro 6031, but notes that DSS needs a clear plan for implementation, one that prevents unnecessary surveillance or harm to recipients, ensures timely coordination across agencies and community partners, and incorporates accessible reporting mechanisms and fair hearing processes so that recipients can contest wrongful benefit laws. He also calls on DSS to pair enforcement with prevention by investing in modern technology, public awareness, and partnerships with retailers, so that with proper training, retailers can report suspicious activity early and protect community members. Protecting our community's access to fresh and healthy food options is paramount. Reducing SNAP fraud will ensure that constituents have a timely access to their benefits and preserve their well-being. We have also submitted written testimony with more detailed information and recommendations for the council's review. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, and our next panel will be Nicholas Boes. Jerome Nathaniel, Emma Lentz-Besire, Joanna Mendez, Joel Berg, and Judith from New York Common Pantry. Hold on, I just want to make sure. Okay. Do we have Nicholas? Oh, there you are. Great. We can just start at my left at this end here and then just go down the table. Thank you. And I just want to remind folks that the clock will go off after 2 minutes. You can submit your written testimony, but if you're at the end of a sentence or two, feel free to finish it. Thank you.
Thank you, Committee Chair Hudson and the Committee on General Welfare for this opportunity. We appreciate the thoughtful manner in which the City Council is evaluating the food insecurity crisis in New York City and seeking ways to dedicate funding and to partner with community-based organizations. My name is Judy Seacon, and I'm the Deputy Executive Director at New York Common Pantry, one of the largest food pantry and social services organizations in the city, and a founding member of the Roundtable, a coalition of 9 of the largest emergency food providers in New York City. For more than 45 years, we have supported struggling city residents every day and have stepped up our provision of healthy and fresh food. Last year, we served more than 11.7 million meals, assisted more than 764,000 guests, and expanded our mobile programs to serve 350 trusted community partner sites throughout the city with food and public benefits access, including SNAP enrollment and recertification. As you know, poverty and hunger in New York City has reached epidemic proportions. The affordability crisis has made it difficult for New Yorkers to make ends meet and to feed their families. We are here today to discuss the impact of federal changes to SNAP. More than 1 million New Yorkers rely on SNAP benefits. 79% of SNAP recipients are children, the elderly, or disabled. 66% of our Choice Pantry members already receive SNAP and have to rely on our pantries for food anyway. With this new bill, the imposing huge cost to SNAP, even more people are losing their SNAP benefits entirely or receiving reduced benefits, and more people will be turning to emergency food providers like New York Common Pantry to help feed their families. As the Council considers priorities for the upcoming fiscal year, we urge you to continue investing in frontline emergency food providers, innovative community-based solutions that address food insecurity at scale, and strengthen the emergency food system that so many New Yorkers rely on. This includes continued baseline funding at $100 million for Community Food Connection. Stop there.
Okay, do you want to finish that paragraph? You're good?
We just also wanted to ask to maintain the $15 million for feeding our communities, to increase support for case management services, and to fund SNAP Ed, which has been cut by the federal government.
Great, thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Joanna Mendez, Assistant Director of Public Policy at Children's Aid. I just want to thank all of you for your interest, particularly in SNAP Ed. As you've heard, SNAP Ed is the nutrition education arm of SNAP, which supports low-income individuals and families by helping them make healthier food choices, stretch their SNAP dollars, and adopt physically active lives. SNAP Ed unfortunately now faces an uncertain future after its funding was fully eliminated under H.R. 1. For 20 years, SNAP Ed funding has allowed Go Healthy at Children's Aid to provide hands-on, culturally responsive nutrition education and food boxes to over 3,000 participants at our schools and community centers. The impact of its funding elimination has been immediate for us and for many other community-based organizations that do this work. At Children's Aid, we planned for 22 staff, but are now down to just 4, and have gone from serving 16 sites to only 2. Programs are being dismantled, not because the need has gone away, but because the funding has. Rosa, a mom of a 5th grader at PS 72 in East Harlem, told us her son never missed a cooking class, now asks for fruits and vegetables at the grocery store, and even brought recipes home to cook as a family. She added, "It's truly changed how our entire family eats." That programming, unfortunately, has since been terminated, but Rosa's story reflects a citywide reality. SNAP Ed has reached more than 1.5 million New Yorkers, generating real healthcare cost savings. Eliminating it will not reduce need. It will only push more families into increasing strain on public services. That is why Children's Aid, along with partner SNAP Ed New York City agencies, urge the Council to invest $5 to $7 million in bridge funding. Without it, we will be forced to shut down our doors by September of 2026. This funding would prevent immediate service loss and, most importantly, ensure that children like Rosa's son continue to build healthy habits that last a lifetime. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Joel Berg, CEO of Hunger Free America. Thank you, Chair Hudson, for holding this hearing. And I hope every member of the council, not just this committee, reads our entire written testimony. I think the city's really missing the ball. And frankly, to date, the council's missing the ball on really keeping the eye on the safety net. The community support connections are absolutely vital. I support more funding for it. These groups do amazing work, but we are set to lose hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars of federally funded food benefits. And I appreciate what our partners at HRA and DSS are doing. We work closely with them. They've been very responsive, appreciate what the state's doing, but we do not have a comprehensive city, state, nonprofit plan to meet those work requirements. In a few weeks, hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers could be losing hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars worth of food. So we do think the council should, in its budget, at least include a few $1,000,000, for instance, what was discussed, to help people better meet the volunteer requirements. I think really the bill on fraud is distracting. Benjamin Franklin once said, never confuse motion with action. It's not action. To explain, the city has no legal ability to handle that type of fraud. The city doesn't even get that data. Talk to the federal government, talk to the states. When hundreds of thousands of people could be losing hundreds of millions of dollars worth of food, that distraction is not helpful. I guarantee it will cost more city tax dollars than it will save. I hope at another hearing we can discuss the proposal that the mayor issued yesterday. I was at the event to create a city-owned grocery store, and I think we need an honest conversation. Is $30 million in infrastructure funds, followed by years and years of subsidies, the most effective way to really address this topic? We agree wholeheartedly we need to lower grocery prices, but I think we need to really look carefully at the best way to do it. And really, is funding brick and mortar stores when so much is going to home delivery really the most cost-effective answer? So we thank the council for looking at this, and I hope in the future more members can actually attend. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I do agree with you with regards to the legislation. So thanks for making that statement.
Sorry. Thank you, Chairwoman and members of the council, for holding this very important hearing here today on food insecurity. My name is Joe Nathaniel, and I'm the Director of Policy and Government Relations at City Harvest. City Harvest is New York City's oldest and longest operating food rescue organization, and this year alone, we're on pace to rescue nearly 90 million pounds of food, mostly fresh produce, and delivering that free of charge to a network of 400 pantries and soup kitchens across the 5 boroughs. Many of those program providers are doing the frontline work, and they're seeing these changes impact their day-to-day operations, and you hear from them today. They're seeing at least 88% more pantry visits today than they did before COVID or 2019, and that's before the brunt of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act has harmed communities. We are deeply concerned about the One Big Beautiful Bill Act because there are many big, ugly numbers that came from that bill that passed last year. And in particular, I want to highlight 250 million meals. According to Feeding America, more than 250 million meals are at risk of being lost here in New York City each year because of changes to SNAP eligibility and all the cuts that we heard earlier today that will lead to hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers losing eligibility. And when they lose eligibility, they often turn to the pantry network and make more pantry visits. And that's why you'll see in our written testimony, we have a number of asks, including more investments in Community Food Connection Program. As you heard earlier, $100 million we believe should be baseline to help meet some of that demand. We are also asking for investment in city programs that we know work and that get food dollars into New Yorkers' hands. That includes programs like Groceries to Go and Get the Good Stuff. Right now, it's very small scale. Only about 4,000 individuals that are seniors or in health and hospitals are getting that card to be able to purchase food from certain food retailers, but we believe it should be expanded. Also, I wholeheartedly believe, in alignment with Joe Berg here, that SNAP really needs to be closely looked at and making sure that HRA has the proper resources to meet the shifting administrative costs, as well as the cost to enroll more people into the SNAP program, because for every meal that we provide, SNAP provides access to 9, so we need to work 9 times as hard to meet some of that gap. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Emma Lenz-Basir, and I'm here testifying today on behalf of City Meals, an emergency food provider addressing food insecurity in 3 ways: funding weekend meals for the city's home-delivered meals program, serving as an emergency food responder for this population, and providing additional food to those who need more than the 1 meal a day they receive. We'd like to thank Chair Hudson for holding this hearing today and for Council for addressing this timely issue. Unfortunately, existing nutrition assistance programs that many older adults access, such as SNAP and food pantries, are largely inaccessible for those unable to shop for groceries regularly or prepare their own meals. Furthermore, SNAP skimming threatens the ability to age in place for those who are enrolled when left without any ability to regain stolen funds. A truly comprehensive approach to food insecurity would offer a meal every day of the year to homebound older adults, while programs providing home delivery and a secure SNAP step in for those who are in need of more. and as that helps to fill the gap. Therefore, we respectfully request that the council support the following: increasing the community food connection funding at a baseline of $100 million to stabilize the emergency food system, making the Feeding Our Communities initiative permanent at a baseline of $15 million to annually to support frontline providers, and strengthening food programs for older adults through a $60 million investment in the congregate meal program, and passing Intro 280 with adequate funding to provide home-delivered meals 365 days a year with a $16.17 per meal reimbursement rate. We'd also like to express our support for any bill that increases the flexibility of SNAP dollars and deeply appreciate Council's attention to these matters. We'd also like to urge Council to support the expansion of existing programs that provide prepared meals to low-income older New Yorkers, including but not limited to the programs I mentioned, home-delivered meals and congregate meal programs. There's work to be done here in our own city to expand access to hot and prepared meal foods without waiting on the federal government. We thank the City Council for holding this hearing, and we look forward to partnering to ensure that homebound older adults have access to the nutrition they need to age in place and thrive.
Thank you so much.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Nicholas Buse. I'm the Director of Government Relations at the Food Bank for New York City. Thank you, Chair Hudson, so much for your close attention to this issue, for your thoughtful questions during testimony from the administration as well. I would be remiss to also not thank your staff, as well as the committee and council finance staff, for their expertise and close work on a variety of these hunger-related issues. We at Food Bank for New York City can't do that work without the partnership of those staff members and with partnership from HRA and from the council directly. This isn't a budget hearing, but I will reiterate all of the priorities that my colleagues on the table here have shared. Community Food Connection is the foundation of the city's support for food pantries and soup kitchens. We support a $100 million baseline for that program. I do want to elevate one concept that hasn't come up, which is that we're talking about a network that is volunteer run. More than half of food pantries, 700, 800 programs in the city are fully volunteer run. Maybe 1 in 3 has a full-time staff member. So this is work that is done on the backs of volunteers, often who are senior citizens, serving underserved communities. And it's really essential that we center that experience as we consider our priorities for the city. Thank you also for the introduction of policies to start to address SNAP deficiencies that will occur because of HR 1. One meal that food banks provide across the city, SNAP has provided 10. So SNAP dwarfs the service of our network, and there's no way that we can fully make up when SNAP falls short. We know that people turn to our doors when that happens, but it continues to be essential that we support both of these types of services directly. I'll close in saying that the council initiatives continue to be essential to provide flexible services through the Food Pantries Initiative, through Feeding Our Communities, as well as the Food Access and Benefits Initiative, which supports innovative problem-solving services such as the SNAP Task Force, which has been referred to a few times. It's a partnership with the HRA, highly skilled, experienced SNAP outreach and assistance providers embedded in the community, helping people receive SNAP, stay on SNAP, recertify for SNAP. Essential services that are directly supported by the council. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you all for the work that you do. The next panel will be Julia McCarthy, Dr. Melanie Samuels, Raquel Peters, Molly Eckerl, Helen Strom, and Diana Ramos. Great, and we can start on my left here and then just go down the table.
Thanks so much, Councilmember Hudson. We really appreciate your leadership on this issue. I'm Julia McCarthy. I'm a senior program officer with the New York Health Foundation, and one of our mission is to focus on food insecurity. We've been organizing funders since HR 1 passed, and we are excited to partner with the city, both the city council and the city agencies, on this important issue. I think that many of the partners here and many of our grantees will talk much more discreetly about some of the issues that are coming with HR 1, so I want to focus on 3 points. The first is that HRA needs additional support to meet the massive changes that are coming, and we want to make sure that they have that. The second is that the City Council can use their influence to get the state to adopt modern financial protections in the SNAP program. And the third is that there are existing programs at the city level, benefits programs, that we should continue to expand. So first, I want to say that HRA has been working diligently with outdated systems and constrained budgets, and there's a number of changes that they can make. For instance, upgrades to the call center, tech to support staff workflow, and increased capacity to communicate in plain language. As funders, we are organized here and we are willing to help support that. We cannot fill a whole gap, but we are here. The second is that we believe that SNAP participants deserve protections that everyone else gets when they use their debit card or their Chase, whatever bank they use, banking card. And the state can, when it amends its contract with the EBT vendor, include those protections. And we're excited about the chip cards that are coming, but we believe transaction blocking and other protections can be put in place too. So the city should push on that. And finally, the city has a number of benefit programs that it has been running to reach undocumented individuals and individuals who don't qualify for SNAP. The East Harlem Neighborhood Health Action Center recently put out a report documenting best practices around reaching these populations through benefits. We'll be doing a webinar with them hopefully next month, and we have that report available. And we think that this could inform Pantry Link. So you've talked a lot about Pantry Link today. It will be the first in the nation, I believe, to use emergency food funding to reach people. And as Jerome said, and as Joel said, it's 9 times more effective. And while we support emergency food, we think that this is the best way to reach people in a crisis.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. Just want to say thank you for everything you've been doing for us over the past years that you've been in office. And I just want to greet to you, Council Member Hudson, and esteemed members of the Committee on General Welfare. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today on behalf of the Campaign Against Hunger as we confront the deepening crisis of food and economic insecurity facing New York City families. I am Dr. Melanie Samuels, the CEO and founder of the Campaign Against Hunger, an organization that has been serving New York City for over 27 years, and my colleague will take it from here. Staff will take it from here.
In the last fiscal year alone, TICA served over 1.7 million individuals, distributed 20 million meals, and 27 million pounds of food. This reflects not only the scale of need, but the trust communities place in us as a lifeline. Beyond food access, TICA is addressing economic stability. As an official IRS VITA site, we will support over 2,000 individuals, 2,000 households rather, this year, returning more than $3 million back into communities that need it the most. With changes to SNAP and ABOD requirements, thousands of New Yorkers, particularly veterans and young people aging out of foster care, are at risk of losing benefits. In response, TICA is partnering with HRA as a host site for volunteerism and workforce engagement across our 100,000 square feet of operational space. As you consider the upcoming budget, we strongly urge you to invest in frontline providers and innovative models like our citywide cyber pantry, which serves 20,000 families every year, including seniors with barriers to access. We also urge the council to provide baseline funding of $100 million annually for CFC. Finally, TICA is advancing critical infrastructure to meet this moment. We're developing an 8,000 square feet agriculture education center in Marlborough and a 90,000 square feet permanent hub for the city. Despite our impact, funding has not kept pace with demand. We urge this committee and the council to invest in organizations like TICA because the stability of our communities depends on it. Thank you so much, Chairwoman.
Thank you both.
Good afternoon, Chair Hudson. Thank you for holding this hearing today. My name is Molly Eckerly, and I'm here on behalf of Met Council to express our support for the resolutions under consideration today and to urge the Council to invest in food security by baselining Community Food Connection at $100 million and reinvesting in the Council's commitment to the Feeding Our Communities initiative at $25 million. For over 50 years, Met Council has been one of America's largest Jewish charities dedicated to fighting poverty by providing wraparound social services that include the nation's largest kosher and halal emergency food network and serving more than 320,000 New Yorkers annually. As food prices rise and pantry lines have grown, providers are seeing unprecedented levels of need in the communities that we serve. Even before federal SNAP cuts, food insecurity had exceeded COVID-era highs. These devastating cuts will cause hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers to lose SNAP benefits in the coming months, while city and state budgets have failed to keep pace with need. New York City is home to the largest Jewish and Muslim populations in the country, and too often these New Yorkers must choose between their religious observance and accessing food assistance. CFC's unique flexibility and specifically unique variety of foods available allows providers to select food that meets our community's specific needs, including kosher and halal that are not available through other funding sources. Feeding Our Communities has enabled Met Council and our partners, Hispanic Federation and Catholic Charities, to connect underserved communities to culturally appropriate food where traditional emergency feeding falls short. Investing in CFC and Feeding Our Communities means combating the looming SNAP cuts while advancing equity in New York City's emergency food system. Finally, I want to express our support for the resolutions concerning SNAP being considered today. Amid devastating SNAP cuts, it's important that individuals who do continue to qualify for the program are able to access their full benefit and are able to use it to purchase the items that best meet their family's needs. By baselining CFC at $100 million and continuing Feeding Our Communities at $25 million, the Council can support both providers and hungry New Yorkers. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, good afternoon. My name's Helen Strom, and I'm the Benefits and Homeless Advocacy Director at the Safety Net Project at Urban Justice. Thanks so much for doing this hearing today. Today I want to primarily speak about ABOD implementation because we are extremely concerned about the city's lack of preparation for the implementation based on what we're seeing on the ground. So as you might know, we provide direct services to SNAP recipients. We do outreach at food pantries and HRA centers, and we also have members who receive SNAP in our Safety Net activist group. Most SNAP recipients who we speak to are confused about the requirements. They don't understand if they apply to them. They don't understand what they need to do, and they don't understand what they need to do to get exempted. We are extremely concerned about these 122,000 people who could accumulate their first strike starting with March, which was the first month, and their second strike this month in April. HRA, as of last Friday, we had not seen an updated policy about how they were going to implement ABOD requirements. We have asked them about this. We have not received an updated policy, which we believe means that they began doing ABOD in March without a current policy in place on how they were implementing it. People are coming to us with ABOD notices and do not understand them. Our own staff, who have done SNAP work, many for years, some decades, do not clearly understand how HRA expects people to comply with these requirements. They are not mailing out forms. Some forms were not publicly posted until last week. Some forms are only linked online, and they're not actually receivable, like they're not being received in the packet. So people need to figure out like how to access them, how to get access to a printer, which we know most people do not have at home. We are just seeing mass confusion, and we anticipate that very large numbers of people later this month will be receiving notices telling them that they accumulated their first strike towards being cut off due to ABOD requirements, when this could have been avoided had the information been clearly communicated in advance and had there been better implementation. So, we've also sent these communications to HRA, and I know they're trying to improve it, but we would love to work with the council and work with the city to try and get this up to speed as soon as possible, because the way we're seeing the rollout go, people don't understand the requirements. Many people are going to be getting strike one notices, and we think we will see tremendous numbers of people lose their SNAP in June based on how it's going so far.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. My name is Diana Ramos, and I am a member of the Safety Net Activists membership group and a SNAP recipient myself. I thank you for allowing me to testify and having this hearing. I'm here to testify about my experience of being skimmed. In June of 2025, all my SNAP benefits were skimmed while I was sleeping, and the experience left me anxious and traumatized. I was fortunate to have the Safety Net Project as a resource and as a support. Not everyone has that luxury and or ability. I am a diabetic, so we know eating is very, very important. A fund for recovery of these benefits would have eased my mind. Recently, I found out about a member of our group this past week who is getting their benefits skimmed as I was talking to them on the phone, and was able to advise them to lock their card. Unfortunately, a good portion of their benefits were already lost. There needs to be a way for SNAP and cash recipients to recoup what was stolen so they can feed themselves and their families. Many affected are elderly, disabled, and families with young children. This is why I urge the council to do everything it can to push state legislators and Governor Hochul to include a fund to replace benefits in the New York State budget. Let's give New Yorkers a sense of, that they're gonna, if something is stolen, they're gonna get recouped and in a timely manner. I said I was lucky, and I'm very, very fortunate to have been a part of this group to where I was able to get food for the month. And I just breaks my heart when I hear one of my neighbors who does not have the same resource and support telling me that they can't feed their kindergartner, their first grader, their fifth grader because their SNAP was skimmed and they can't wait in a food pantry line. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Thank you all for your testimony and for the work that you do. And I also do just want to note for the record that Deputy Commissioner Jamar Hooks, as always, remains in the building to hear the testimony. So he's listening to all of you, hearing everything. I see him taking notes. So I just want you all to know that that he's here. Thank you. And the next panel is Alana Tornello, Greg Silverman, Andrea Jacobson, Dr. Mark Chatterpall, Kathleen Vargas, and Lisa Zen. And we'll start from my left at the end of the table here and just go down. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Hudson and members of the committee. I'm Dr. Mark Chatterpall, Executive Director of the Hunter College New York City Food Policy Center. Located in East Harlem, the center works at the intersection of academia, community, and government to advance food security and position New York City as a model for equitable, evidence-driven food policy. We appreciate the opportunity to testify in support of 3 items on today's agenda. On the SNAP Anti-Fraud Officer, New York leads the nation in stolen SNAP benefits, with well over 165,000 claims totaling $51 million since 2023. A dedicated DSS officer would centralize and improve accountability in how benefit theft is tracked and addressed. The most direct solution to skimming, however, is upgrading EBT cards from magnetic strip to chip technology, which is by far harder to compromise. Transition Governor Hochul has included in her executive budget. We urge the council to support both efforts. On the benefit theft compensation fund, with federal replacement authorizations expired, skimming victims have no recourse. A 2026 Propel survey of over 8,000 EBT cardholders showed that the impact 56% of victims skipped or cut back on meals, and 43% borrowed money or went into debt. A state compensation fund would ensure these New Yorkers don't have to go into debt to put groceries on the table and would remain necessary even after the transition to chip cards. We urge the council to pass this resolution. On the Hot Foods Act, SNAP recipients can buy a cold rotisserie chicken, but not a hot one. The same bird, same store, treated differently based solely on temperature. This arbitrary rule is a genuine barrier for working families, families with children, older adults, and people with disabilities. The majority of New York City's SNAP population and those least likely to have the time, equipment, or physical ability to cook at home. New York City's restaurant meals programs allowed some of these groups, as well as people experiencing homelessness, to use SNAP benefits to buy prepared meals at restaurants with only roughly 220 participating locations citywide. Thank you for your leadership on food security. The New York City Food Policy Center is a resource and would be willing to continue assisting, and we will be submitting a more detailed testimony later.
Great. Thank you so much.
Hi, Chair Hudson and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. My name is Greg Silverman, CEO of the West Side Campaign Against Hunger, an organization that directs over 100,000 New Yorkers in need. I'm also the co-founder and executive director of the Roundtable New York City, a coalition of 9 of the largest and most innovative emergency food providers in New York City. You've already heard from our members, Met Council, Campaign Against Hunger, City Meals, and Common Pantry preceded me today. We support over 800 distribution points across the city, serving well over 1 million New Yorkers in need with the best food and benefits enrollment possible. Today, I just want to be clear, right? Hunger in New York is rising and continues to. It's not falling by any means. Over 1.4 million New Yorkers are food insecure, and demand at food pantries will continue to be high, and we're going to grow even much further than ever it was in the height of the pandemic. And we're facing even greater challenges as so many hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers are at risk of losing their benefits, SNAP benefits, because of federal disruptions. SNAP, as you've heard, is our nation's most effective anti-hunger program. When it's cut, people come to pantries. Organizations like the West Side Campaign Against Hunger are going to see more and more customers in need. With continued high food inflation and low wages in our city, we're going to see a massive increase in need at every pantry in the city, and there's no extra funds to make that happen. We're already stretched across our networks beyond capacity. We can't replace SNAP, and we need your leadership right now, which leads us back to $100 million being baseline for Community Food Connections, which supports frontline organizations across the city. And in the Feeding Our Communities program, secondly, making that a permanent $15 million annually and aligning the distribution with multiple data points. Firstly, what you already heard from earlier today, the supply gap analysis from the Mayor's Office of Food Policy, but that data is quite limited in comparison to like what Roundtable members, for example, distribute across the city. So we know there's a lot of challenges. We need better data. We need better collaboration, all to make sure that no New Yorker goes hungry in our city.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Council, for this hearing and this opportunity to testify. My name is Alana Tornello. I'm with the Human Services Council, and we're a coalition of over 180 human services organizations representing a sector that provides lifelines for millions of New Yorkers. Food security is the heartbeat of those lifelines, and our city's delicate infrastructure relies on it. And so we are gravely concerned about the perfect storm of food crisis faced today, which includes mass SNAP cuts and discriminatory work requirements and spiking food insecurity due to rapidly worsening financial crisis, and that is all on top of already severe food crises in our city in our still pandemic recovery. New work requirements alone are projected to impact hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers. We anticipate expanded impacts when the policy change made in March sees its first round of impacts in June. Human services providers have been working round the clock to respond while also preparing for the next dangerous wave. We have rapidly expanded and adapted services to prepare community members at risk of losing eligibility and expand access to work placements and volunteer hours. And from that vantage point, we urge the city and the state to share a comprehensive, coordinated, and dual mitigation and response plan for this very urgent SNAP polycrisis. On one side, the mitigation is to prevent further losses of SNAP eligibility for recipients at risk. City can build on its outreach by tailoring direct communication with SNAP recipients at risk with community-designed messaging, providing emergency funding to community human services partners to maintain and expand the critical tailored outreach and placements and more, and leveraging even more city infrastructure, such as using Nycc service as referral partners and Department of Homeless Services contractors to better reach shelter residents. The response must also include authorizing funds for those who lose benefits and increasing emergency funding for the provider programs shared in previous panels. All this is part of the need for the city and state to immediately stand up a robust emergency distribution infrastructure. And we really should be learning from what worked and didn't work during the November SNAP crisis. For each of these steps, human services providers have already shown leadership, need to be meaningfully included, and the window is rapidly closing for meaningful mitigation and response. So we ask city leaders to urgently work with us. Thank you, and please refer to our written testimony.
Will do. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Andrea Jacobson. I'm the Assistant Vice President for Public Policy and Government Engagement at Emblem Health. On behalf of Emblem Health, I'd like to thank Chair Hudson and members of the Committee on General Welfare for holding this hearing. Emblem Health is a mission-based nonprofit health plan serving more than 2 million New Yorkers. We operate 15 neighborhood care centers where we provide free support, connection to resources, and programming to all community members. Many of our neighborhood care sites are also co-located with our partner medical practice, Advantage Care Physicians, which provides primary and specialty care. We support the City Council's efforts to improve the health and well-being of New Yorkers by addressing food insecurity through the legislation under consideration today. In September 2025, Emblem Health announced a $2 million investment to combat food insecurity across all 5 boroughs through partnerships with the Campaign Against Hunger, City Harvest, and the New York Common Pantry. Since launching this program, we've distributed nearly 34,000 bags of food. This includes food distributions and farmers markets at our neighborhood care sites, where we can not only address food insecurity, but also assist with SNAP enrollment, connect individuals to additional resources, and provide free health and wellness classes, including nutrition classes. We also host food distribution events across the city at varying community locations, allowing us to reach more community members where they are, and to date, we've distributed over 14,000 bags of produce and canned goods at these events. The need for enhanced food support in our communities is significant, and we've been able to increase our impact through funding from elected officials across several of our sites. These grant programs allow us to bring support to meet community members' most pressing needs, which include food security, but also mental well-being, loneliness, social isolation, and more. Additionally, we bring free education and resources to the community through quarterly webinars. We'll be holding a webinar on healthy eating for disease prevention and longevity in June, and would welcome collaboration on this. Thank you, and we look forward to continuing to work with the City Council to keep our neighbors and communities healthy.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Kathy Vargas, and I'm the Community Services Program Director at Center for Family Life in Sunset Park. It's a community-based provider of comprehensive and social services. As Program Director, I oversee our benefits access and enrollment, giving me a first-hand insight into the challenges and deprivations suffered by our community members due to rampant SNAP and cash assistance fraud, and how the lack of reimbursement leaves people treading water with no life preserver. Over 14% of New Yorkers receive SNAP benefits. 30% of them are children, 21% are elderly, and 10% are disabled. These are the most vulnerable communities in our population. The theft of SNAP cards is quite literally stealing food from the mouths of children. New York State residents are particularly hard hit by SNAP theft, with over $51.8 million paid in reimbursements from August 2023 to June 2025. Of the approved claims, Brooklyn represents 37%, almost double the number of similarly sized queens, yet even these numbers are likely undercounted to the true rate of fraud since the federal government's reimbursement period ended. Yes, the state has urged New Yorkers to lock their EBT cards and frequently change their PINs, yet even these snaps are no guarantee against theft. Yes, Governor Hochul has announced that the New York State will upgrade magnetic stripped EBT cards to chipped encrypted cards, as California did last year, reducing skimming by 83%. But if California is the example, it also took nearly 3 years from announcement to implementation. Don't make New York families who are struggling now wait 3 years for long overdue security upgrades to take effect. Without reimbursement, parents go hungry to feed their children. Elderly resort to cheap, carb-heavy, sugar-saturated foods that disrupt their medications. Disabled people choose between healthcare and a hot meal. No reimbursement means no food on the table tonight. Consider one of our clients, an 8-month pregnant mother of 2 and a survivor of domestic violence who came to us after several skimming incidents. She was able to leave our program with food because of our food pantry services. But no family in that position should have to come to us with nothing because the state offers no reimbursement backstop. We're asking to pass a resolution and urge Albany to act so that no New Yorker goes hungry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Hudson, members of the Committee on General Welfare. My name is Lisa Zhang. I'm a Director of Social Services at HomeQuest Community Services. HomeQuest Community Service, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today. HomeQuest Community Services serve older adults, families, and youth across Southern Brooklyn. We provide culturally responsive, language accessible programs out of 4 centers, including 2 DFTA-funded older adult centers where we offer daily meals. We also provide social services that help New Yorkers access public benefits and essential support. Many of the people we serve rely on SNAP and cash assistance to meet their most basic needs. Since the summer 2023, we have seen SNAP theft as a recurring problem that comes in waves. Clients come to our offices after the benefit has been drained overnight. A 72-year-old client told us after being skimmed twice, "I never thought this would happen to me. I feel scared. How come no one stops it? In 2024, HomeQuest helped 90 clients successfully obtain reimbursement after the benefit was stolen. But we also saw 160 additional clients who were not reimbursed because the claims came too late under the December 2024 federal reimbursement timeline. When reimbursement is not available, people stop reporting thefts because reporting does not lead to relief. New York has promoted tools like the EBTX portal, including freezing cards and blocking certain transactions. These tools can help some clients, but they are not a reliable solution for the population most affected. Many older adults struggle with navigating small touchscreens, difficult password requirements, and a repeated attempt that leads to a locked account. Language access is incomplete. Some language options may appear before entering the portals, but the key functions within the account remain limited and are not available in language our clients rely on, including Chinese. That's why HomeQuest strongly supports Resolution 21 introduced by Councilmember Aviles and urges the state to pass a 03578 and S00403 to establish a SNAP and cash assistance fraud victims compensation fund. We are grateful that New York has stated its commitment to a longer-term security upgrade, including a transition to a chip-enabled EBT card, but this transition will take time and families cannot wait years for protection. A compensation fund is the most direct way to address an immediate need. We also strongly support Intro 0512 2026, introduced by Councilmember Zong for the creation of a SNAP anti-fraud officer and fraud compensation fraud awareness campaign to better track and respond to thefts. Thank you to the committee for your time and leadership on this issue.
Thank you. Thank you all. The next panel will be Pei Wei, Ali Ahmed, Adam Abba, Shana McCormick, Jamila Zoma, and Marcus Jackson. We'll start here to my left and then go down the table.
Good afternoon, Chair Hudson and members of the General Welfare Committee. My name is Ali Ahmed, and I am the owner of Brain Food, a proud partner of Rethink Food since 2020. We have prepared and distributed over 2 million meals in our community across New York City, producing approximately 3,000 meals a week for 7 different community-based organizations. I strongly support the legislation before the committee, including SNAP fraud protection and the Hot Foods Act, which would expand access for SNAP recipients while creating a real pathway for small restaurants like mine to serve healthy, culturally relevant meals in the communities that we know best. Independent restaurants like mine and others are here today for truly uniquely positioned to do this work. We understand the dietary needs and cultural traditions and the food preferences of our neighbors, including halal and other community-specific requirements. The knowledge doesn't come from a manual, it comes from being a part of the community. With the right city support models like Rethink Food, our restaurants and reliable partners in addressing food insecurity quickly, locally, and with care. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Chair Hudson and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. My name is Marcus Jackson. I'm the Director of Advocacy and Government Relations for Encore Community Services. And for nearly 50 years, Encore has partnered with the city to deliver meals, case management, and community programs that allow older New Yorkers to age with dignity and independence. We are proud of that partnership, and we appreciate the work the City Council and our agency partners have done and for their continued collaboration towards their commitment to improving the lives of older adults in New York City. Encore supports the proposed legislation that was discussed today. And we are here to talk specifically about food insecurity facing our older adult population in New York City. specifically the gap that is this city funds when it comes to homebound older New Yorkers that actually need to stay healthy and stay at home. The city currently funds one meal a day, 5 days a week. Older adults have come to rely on this program and supplemental meals from crucial partners like City Meals on Wheels and others of my colleagues that have testified today. But I can tell you from personal experience that for too many older adults, this program has gaps. And for the people I work with, this gap is dangerous. Long stretches without a meal worsens chronic conditions, interfere with medical medications, and that needs to be taken out of food and force people to make impossible choices about what little they have. We fill that gap now through private charity. Organizations like Encore and City Meals on Wheels do extraordinary work, and we are grateful. But we should be clear-eyed about what arrangement means. The city has defined its obligation narrowly and then relied on nonprofits and donors to quietly cover what it won't. We could do more. Our ask is straightforward. Fund home delivered meals 7 days a week at the true cost of delivering them every day, not 5 days out of 7. The research on this is unambiguous. Consistent nutrition keeps older adults out of hospitals, out of nursing facilities, and independently living longer. That saves the city money overall. More importantly, it keeps people fed. New York City has an opportunity in the 27 fiscal budget to make a real commitment here, and we urge the council to press forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Chair Hudson and members of the General Welfare Committee. Thank you for holding this important hearing and space for us to testify today. My name is Shana McCormick, Senior Director of Government and Community Relations at Rethink Food, a chef-led nonprofit that drives funding to mobilize local restaurant partners to create culturally celebrated meals for New Yorkers in need. To date, we have distributed over 34 million meals through this proven model and invested over 157 million into restaurants. We support the legislation before the committee today, especially around SNAP fraud and ensuring SNAP access. We also echo sentiments shared by other food advocates today in asking for a baseline of $1 million in funding for CFC. Last November, when SNAP benefits paused during the government shutdown, our team mobilized, doubling, in some cases tripling, meal support across all 5 boroughs. And we're strong supporters of the Hot Food Acts, a meaningful opportunity not only to expand access for SNAP recipients, but to create a pathway for local restaurants to prepare meals for their communities. We commend Council Members Aviles, Suwang, Schulman, and Joseph for their leadership. Rethink has also seen firsthand the power of leveraging existing infrastructure and leaning on strong partnerships between nonprofits, small businesses, and city government to effectively respond to emergencies such as the Code Blue crisis earlier this year and others. In the past year alone, Rethink has provided over 72,000 emergency response meals to warming centers, Nycc developments, health and hospital sites, and more during some of the most difficult times throughout our city. New York is facing a looming hunger crisis this summer, with 180,000 New York City residents at risk of losing SNAP benefits due to federal rollbacks and SNAP eligibility. Rethink Food stands ready to expand our work with city agencies to support meals for the most vulnerable New Yorkers, including individuals with chronic illness in need of specialized medically tailored meals, which we've been able to deliver over 44,000 meals in the last year, CUNY students facing food insecurity, and families in the temporary housing system and beyond. We look forward to partnering with the administration and this council to meet the need ahead of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Hassan and member of the General Welfare Committee. My name is Pei Shan Wei. I'm the co-owner of Zap Zap, a Thai restaurant with location in Elmhurst, Williamsburg, and Little Kios Pier 57. I'm also the proud partner restaurant of Rethink Food since 2020. We've worked with Rethink to prepare and distribute hundreds and thousands of nutritious meals to the community members across New York City. Today, we produce roughly 800 meals each week, which are delivered to 4 community-based organizations across the city. I strongly support the legislation before the committee. I've been seeing the need for the emergency, including during the February, snowstorm, when I provide 155 hot meals to the CPC Hongling House. It's a Chinese senior house. I also support the SNAP fraud protection and the Hot Food Act, which would expand access for SNAP recipients while creating a pathway for a small and mid-sized restaurant like mine to serve a healthy, culturally relevant meal in our own community. Small and mid-sized restaurants want to be part of the city's solution. Feeding people is what we do the best. Restaurants are unique position to provide meals that reflect the culture and religious needs for the community we serve, including Chinese, Southeast, East Asian option. Restaurants like mine are already doing this work quickly, locally, and with care. With the right support and clear standards, we can be a strong partners for the city in deliver food and the people will actually eat and trust. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Hudson and committee. My name is Adama Bama, Executive Director of Africana, a Black-led organization serving immigrants across New York City. I want to start with the simple truth. Food access in the city is not equitable for Black immigrant communities. It is often inaccessible. At Africana, we serve many Black Muslim families. For us, halal food is not a preference, it is a religious obligation. Yet across shelter pantries and city-funded programs, halal food is inconsistent, culturally inappropriate, or missing entirely. And we have to name what it is happening. Most Muslims in the shelter identify as Black Muslims, and the food provided is not culturally or religiously responsive. That means people are sitting without meals, they cannot eat. It means going hungry in a system meant to support them. It means being counted but not actually served. And too often, halal is treated as an ethnic, not religious. Islam is not tied to one culture, but when halal is framed as South Asian or Arab food, it erases Black Muslims. It erases our communities, our culture, and our needs. At Africana, we see the consequences every day. People forced to choose between faith and survival. That is failure of dignity, so we stepped in. Each year, Africana, where communities come first, raised $300,000 to provide halal culture responsive food during Ramadan. We work with Black-owned vendors like Dish Out and make sure our communities can eat with dignity. We do this every year because the system does not. And now welfare changes are making things worse. As SNAP and cash assistance become harder to access, more families are turning to food pantry, but those pantries are already underfunded and overwhelmed, especially those serving Black immigrant communities. So what happens? Longer lines, less food, and even fewer culturally appropriate options. When benefits are cut, the burden doesn't disappear. It shifts into community organizations that are already stretched thin. Without investment, these changes will deepen food insecurity. So we ask, food access must include cultural and religious dignity, SNAP outreach must be language accessible and community rooted, and welfare changes must come with the real support for food pantries carrying a crisis. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Chair Hudson and members of the General Welfare Committee, good afternoon, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. My name is Jamila Zoma, and I'm the founder of African Dish Out, a platform dedicated to connecting communities to authentic, culturally rooted African meals by partnering with local African restaurants across New York and beyond. At African Dish Out, we believe that access to culturally appropriate food should not be a privilege. It should be a standard. Over the past 3 years, we have worked with organizations like Africana, Community Comes First, Gambian Youth Organization, to provide Ramadan, to support Ramadan meal programs across New York City, helping coordinate and distribute over 12,000 meals weekly to individuals in shelters and mosques. And through this work, one thing has become very clear to us. Food insecurity, it's not just access, it's about dignity. Because when someone receives a meal that reflects who they are, their culture, their faith, their upbringing, it does more than feed them. It affirms them. It tells them that they are seen, they are respected, and they belong. For many immigrant communities, that matters deeply. And it's important to understand that even within the African continent, cuisines are very distinct. They carry different traditions, different flavors, cultural significance. These meals are not interchangeable. Yet, too often, our food systems treat communities as if they are. The result? Meals that go uneaten, programs that miss the mark, and communities feel overlooked. but we have seen what works. When you partner with local, culturally rooted restaurants, businesses that understand the community, you don't just deliver food, you deliver meals that are trusted, that are welcome, and that people excited to receive it. At the same time, you are reinvesting in small businesses that are the backbone of these communities. This is what equity looks like in practice. So I urge the council to invest in food solutions that center cultural competence, community partnerships, and live experience, because food, it's not just nutrition, it is identity, it is dignity, and it's equity. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you to Rethink for bringing your partners. The next panel will be Tara Klein, Deborah Berkman, Labani Rahman, Amber Flannery Field, and Adela Ramirez. And we'll start on my left here and then go down the table.
Good afternoon, Chair Hudson and members of the General Welfare Committee. Thank you for holding this important oversight hearing on food insecurity. My name is Labani Rahman. I am a staff attorney at the Legal Aid Society, where I work to ensure that New Yorkers are able to access public benefits such as food assistance. As we've discussed, H.R. 1 enacted a sweeping, unprecedented retrenchment of the federal safety net. Among its vast and devastating impacts, it rewrote how SNAP is funded, who is eligible for benefits, how those benefits are calculated, and once you get them, what hoops you must jump through to make sure that you don't lose them. Specifically, H.R. 1 eliminated a long-standing waiver that, for decades, had protected New Yorkers from irrational and burdensome ABOD work rules and time limits. When other states have imposed these work requirements and penalties, working people lost SNAP benefits due to red tape and agency error. ABOD rules put New Yorkers at risk of losing benefits not because they are ineligible, but because the system fails them. In this context, it is absolutely critical for HRA to implement the federal ABOD rules efficiently, effectively, and to minimize loss of benefits. Our submitted testimony will detail some recommendations to ensure minimal loss of benefits, and there are three that I want to highlight now. First, HRA must prioritize screening for exemptions of the ABOD work rules, especially for people with disabilities, health conditions, and other factors that make it difficult for them to secure and maintain employment. Many exemptions can be easily apparent to the HRA caseworker. For example, if a person is earning W-2 income of $213.50 per week, or receives SSI, or has submitted a medical statement, that information will be readily available to the caseworker. However, there are numerous other grounds for exemptions, especially related to mental and physical disabilities, that can only be uncovered if caseworkers are properly trained to ask screening questions with the diligence, sensitivity, and care that is required to talk about hard things over the phone. Additionally, HRA must create clear pathways for individuals who believe they have been improperly coded as ABOD to request to be rescreened by an HRA caseworker. Again, uploading a document on Access HRA will be the preferred mechanism for many people, but for New Yorkers with real barriers, HRA must make extra efforts to ensure that those barriers are accommodated and the needs of these people are met. Second, HRA must engage meaningfully with community groups that are able to offer volunteer hours for SNAP participants. For people coded ABOD who must comply, volunteering is the easiest way to comply with the ABOD work requirements. The way that the hours are calculated is dependent on the SNAP allotment, and it's divided by the city minimum wage, which is $17 an hour. HRA testified earlier that there are two pathways to volunteer, and I just want to make sure that both of these pathways will be able to avail ABODs of the lesser burdensome way to comply with the ABOD work requirements. Third, HRA should create an ABOD ombuds office that individual participants, CBOs, everyone can reach a single person to answer questions. We have received notices from individuals coded ABOD that have confusing information, incorrect phone numbers, and are very difficult to be understood and complied with by recipients. The Ombuds Office could be a single place where they can get their questions answered by HRA.
And you're receiving the paperwork that you're referencing is from HRA?
I think I can speak to this specifically. So the people receiving SNAP can be SNAP only, or they can be cash assistance SNAP.
Right.
There are notices that go to everybody who has work requirements, and the one particular form includes a phone number that directs people to the SNAP only phone number. If someone is receiving cash assistance and SNAP together, and they try to call that phone number, they will not be able to authenticate, and they will be just left without a recourse.
Okay, thank you. Tara?
All right. Thank you, Chair Hudson, for the opportunity to testify today. I'm Tara Klein. I'm the Deputy Director of Policy and Advocacy at United Neighborhood Houses. So we are an association of settlement houses in New York. I want to talk a little bit about the new ABOD work requirements, and specifically about volunteering as a way to meet those requirements. So a lot of our settlement house members are really eager to support their communities and provide community service or volunteer opportunities to help people meet the new ABOD requirements. But at the same time, we know that there is a lot of work that goes into managing volunteers. And so that's something we're really looking at right now. So you need to place a volunteer, train them, support them, manage them. That really takes staff time and money in a lot of cases. And so if we're going to create these new opportunities, we really need to think about the role of the CBO and what they can do. The good news is a lot of new work is happening in the city that we can really build on and fund and support. One of those, we're talking about this 2-track system that HRA has been talking about. A couple of our settlement house members are doing that right now. We hear it's still kind of in early development, but it's going pretty well. There's good communication. Just some examples, though we know there's more need to support the volunteers. One of our members said they have one volunteer coordinator on staff who manages an organization that sees 50,000 participants over a year. Another organization said they have 3 volunteer coordinators on staff. They could maybe take 10 more volunteers before they really need to have another staff member hired. So we'd love HRA to find a way, the city to find a way to contribute more money to those organizations that are doing that HRA volunteering track. So that's one thing we'd love to see. Another we talked about in our budget hearing is the Civic Impact Fund. This is something the city is already doing through NYC Service. So we'd love to expand on that work to get some more money to supporting volunteer infrastructure. And then finally, I just want to touch really quickly on SNAP skimming. We strongly support the resolution to create a statewide SNAP victim compensation fund. We've been working on this for a long time. We know the state is trying to do chip cards through its budget process, which is dragging on really late. The Senate actually put a $3 million fund in their one House budget proposal. Advocates have been saying we need about $20 million for the state this year. And we've also heard from the OTDA commissioner that it'll take 12 to 18 months to get those chip cards up and running. So this is really just a short-term fix, and we'd really love the council's support in getting that done. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Amber. I come from the Quakers, which is the oatmeal religion. I'm a home care aide and a community mother. I'm here talking on behalf of the trans community. Trans people have it hard, right? 30% of us are in poverty. It compounds with race, immigration, and disability. Like white trans women have a higher rate of homelessness than the average population. The Black trans population is double that. 8% of cis people are in food insecurity. 21% of trans people have not had a substantial meal last week. You're looking at one of them. She's very pretty. Jokes help move things around. One of my issues and many of my peers' issues is that the certification process is very opaque and Byzantine. I've heard people here talk about the chilling effect. Again, you're looking at it like I don't know how to navigate these new systems. And trans women have a longer list of bureaucratic nightmares to deal with than your average person. Like your average day, you have to pay your rent, feed the cat, and call the babysitter. We have to deal with gender-affirming care. And not only that, but in your original statements, you talked about people choosing between food and medicine. There's also the budget of time, right? You know, I have to choose between mourning some people I know because, you know, we have a high mortality rate, or also, you know, getting food stamps. I had a case manager through the Gay Center who was personable and held my hand through the process, but in 2024, the Gay Center discreetly laid off their case managers and a lot of their staff. We try to mobilize people to figure out what's going on, and they're very evasive about it. And yes, that was part of it. Additionally, I was using the pantry at Brooklyn Community Pride Center's bedside branch, but they closed again in 2024. Finding new pantries that fit for my needs eats into my time budget. I try not to step my step to the tempo of people who have more privilege than me, but as a very good-looking trans woman, finding new pantries means finding spaces where trans women are not looked like as a circus animal. Misgendering by the staff or patrons, and also patronizing nonprofit-y. Wow, that's valid talk. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I will have Andrew on my team reach out to you so that we can help connect you to some specific services. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Hudson. My name is Adela Ramirez, and I'm here to advocate for a prevention-based solution that complements today's discussion on food insecurity, the implementation of financial literacy education in all middle and high school across New York City. We talk about hunger, housing, and assistance programs every year, but we rarely talk about why families end up needing them. The truth is simple. There is no salary big enough if we don't know how to manage money. That's not just a slogan, it's a reality that keeps generations trapped in cycles of poverty. When we teach financial literacy early, we build habits before adulthood. Budgeting, savings, understanding credit, and making informed choices. By the time students reach 18, they're prepared to handle real-world finances instead of falling into debt or dependency. I'm not here asking for another temporary fix. I'm asking for prevention, for a system that empowers our youth to manage money wisely, reduce reliance on welfare, and strengthen the city's economic foundation from the ground up. Financial literacy is not an elective, it's a life skill. Let's make it part of a curriculum citywide so that every student, regardless of zip code, learns how to build stability before crisis begins. Giving free bus rides, free college to our teens is like giving a fish to someone instead of teaching them how to fish. We should give the next generation of choice of either continue getting welfare or get out of government dependency. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Should I wait till that resets? Oh,
No, it'll start when you start.
okay. Good afternoon, Chair Hudson and staff. My name is Deb Berkman, and I'm the director of the Shelter and Economic Stability Project at New York Legal Assistance Group, or NYLAG. We very much appreciate the Council's attention to the urgent issue of hunger in New York City, and we will be submitting written testimony in support of all legislation referenced today. But I specifically want to speak in support of T 2026-1631, creating a SNAP anti-fraud officer and establishing a fraud awareness campaign. More than 60% of SNAP recipients are either older adults, have disability, or are children, and these are populations that are traditionally vulnerable to fraud. It's critical to take proactive steps to prevent fraud and to educate these communities on how to protect their life-sustaining benefits. On hunger, it's vital that the city prioritize timely access to food-related benefits that New Yorkers are legally entitled to. Many of our clients encounter significant barriers in completing applications and recertifications for SNAP benefits because DSS systems are not functioning properly or are simply inaccessible to them. Clients struggle to complete required phone interviews, and documents are often not timely indexed or added to their cases. These failures lead to improper denials and to benefit interruptions. My team has assisted countless clients who rely on SNAP to meet their nutritional needs, only to have those benefits denied or discontinued due to processing failures. While we can often restore benefits retroactively, as we all know, people cannot eat retroactively. And many of our clients are older adults or people with disabilities, and when their benefits are cut off, many have nowhere else to turn. Second, food insecurity is rampant in the city's shelter system. Many NYLAG clients report that shelter meals are too small to meet basic hunger needs, with strict limits on portions. And working shelter residents face an impossible choice: go to work or eat. Compounding this problem, public assistance benefits are reduced based on an assumption that food is available in shelter. Finally, I must mention just very quickly that pantries are a wonderful thing and they're very supportive. I have a lot of elderly homebound clients that can't access food pantries. The city should institute a system that provides for food provision for people who are homebound through online grocery reordering.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you for your work.
Thank you.
We will now move to virtual testimony. Please wait for your name to be called to testify, and please select unmute when prompted. Christopher Leon Johnson.
Hello, my name is Christopher Leon Johnson. I think that God works in mysterious and sometimes great ways. You know, now I'm a statistic of the people that who are a victim of EBT car scamming, and I solely show my support for any bill that will protect people from EBT from getting skimmed and scammed. Because what's happened to me today was somebody, I don't know how they got my information. They stole all my EBT benefits, not only the SNAP benefits, they stole the cash assistance. So now I'm on my way to the Williamsburg SNAP Center and trying to get some information so I can go to the FBI to report the cash assistance being stolen. And then I got to go to the NYPD to get my SNAP benefits from being, to report my SNAP and cash benefits from being stolen. Now, I'll make this clear that I know there's a lot the city council can do. I didn't want to come on record on this, but I have to be transparent. And I hope that the city council and the state and the federal legislature pass these bills to make it where that they don't be another me. There won't be another Christopher Leon Johnson that have to go all the way now to the Williamsburg SNAP Center to report my benefit being stolen. It's sad what happened to me today, but I'm not, there's a life lesson learned. But yeah, I got to go to the feds and the PD and file a report. But yeah, I support these bills when it comes to SNAP being protected. But I hope that going soon that the city finds a way, Zoran Madani finds a way to start reimbursing people when they get their SNAP stolen, like mine. But I'm not trying to make it about me, but there's many people in the city that really need these benefits who don't have the opportunities to work like I do or get money on the side from my odd job to get SNAP, to depend on SNAP. There are people that solely depend on SNAP to survive. But me, I'm kind of upset.
Thank you
what
for your
happened.
testimony. Your time
Thank you
has
so much.
expired.
Thank you. But yeah, that's
Thank
all I
you.
gotta say.
Thank you so much. Evelyn Garcia.
Nice to see you. Good afternoon, Chair Hudson. Pleasure to see you again, and esteemed members of the Committee of General Welfare. My name is Evelyn Garcia, and I'm the Executive Chef and Director of Culinary Programs at the Lenox Hill Neighborhood House. Funded in 1894 as a free kindergarten for immigrants, Lenox Hill Neighborhood House remains dedicated to improving the lives of New Yorkers through education, nutrition, wellness, social services, and more, providing daily farm-to-table meals, nutrition education, and SNAP assistance to our neighbors, from young children and their families to older adults aging in place, is central to our mission. More than 1 in 10 New Yorkers are struggling to access sufficient food, with even higher rates among households with children. Black and Latin families are disproportionately impacted, and the lowest income households, many of whom we serve, are the hardest hit. We see the real impact of these challenges every day. Last year, we prepared and served nearly 260,000 meals. That's 26,000 more than the year before. We also expanded our grab-and-go meal program, distributing an additional 2,000 freshly prepared meals and counting, to ensure young families have reliable access to nutritious food beyond the school hours. We see the same faces returning and new ones, reflecting the growing need across our community. Given the urgency, we strongly support the proposal to assist victims of SNAP and cash assistance fraud and allow SNAP benefits to be used for ready-to-eat foods. Many of our neighbors, especially older adults, come to us after their benefits have been stolen. While we help them navigate reimbursements, the experience is deeply distressing. Expanding access to hot meals is critical for older adults, working families, and others who face barriers while preparing food at home. Again, thank you for your time and your continued commitment to the well-being and food security of all New Yorkers. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Sharon Content.
Great afternoon. My name is Howard Williams. I'm here on behalf
of sharing content. Representing Children of Promise NYC, I support here and serve here as regional director. We are a community-based organization serving children and families in Brooklyn and Bronx who have been impacted by mass incarceration. First off, thank you for even this opportunity to speak, because we understand that this is an urgent and deeply interconnected issue regarding our food insecurity. At CPNYC, we talk about the promise of a full plate. But a full plate is not just about food, right? It represents stability, care, and the wraparound support our young people need to thrive. For us here at Children of Promise, we serve children and families via food, but it's not just an isolated challenge, right? It's a layered issue on top of trauma, economic hardship, and systemic inequalities. Many of our scholars are navigating the emotional toll of parental incarceration while also facing the daily uncertainty of whether there will be enough food at home. We know that number one, nutritious meals fuel growing bodies and minds. Number two, academic enrichment builds confidence and opportunity. And finally, number three, mental health services help children process stress, grief, and loss. When these supports work together, we believe they open the door to hope and possibility. But without consistent access to food, everything else becomes harder. Here at Children of Promise, we were founded 15 years ago with a clear mission, right? To break the cycle of intergenerational involvement in the criminal justice system. So this need is urgent. 1 in 9 African-American children has a parent that's incarcerated, compared to 1 out of 57 Caucasian children. And the children with incarcerated fathers are more likely to face school discipline, 23% compared to just 4% of their peers. Over the past 15 years, we've served over 3,000 children and families, building a holistic, innovative
Thank you
model.
for your testimony. Your time has expired.
You can wrap up the sentence.
Building a holistic and innovative model that integrates youth development, academic supports, and mental health. Finally, we just thank you for this time, and we push for this to really close out what's needed for our community through food.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who has testified. If there's anyone present in the room or on Zoom that has not had the opportunity to testify, please raise your hand. Seeing no one else, I would like to note that written testimony, which will be reviewed in full by committee staff, may be submitted to the record up to 72 hours after the close of this hearing by emailing it to testimony@council.nyc.gov. And again, I'd like to thank everyone who has provided testimony, including the administration. Food insecurity is an incredibly important topic, one that I think has been overlooked and undervalued for a long time, and that I hope we will pay more attention to by providing the necessary funding to keep programs in place. And I also hope that we can all together do the work necessary to ensure that folks continue to have access to the benefits that they need in spite of the actions of the federal government. And with that, I close this hearing. Thank you.